Princess Peach found a powerful artifact, then sent me a letter with a map inviting me to Rogueport to search for a legendary treasure. But now Peach has gone missing and I have to find 7 hidden crystal stars guarded by powerful monsters to unlock the mysterious 1,000-year door. Thankfully, I won't be alone, making lots of friends along the way to conquer obstacles and defeat my enemies. For this 100% playthrough, not only must I find the 7 stars and rescue Princess Peach, but I also have to defeat every optional super boss, scan every enemy, collect every badge, and cook every recipe. My journey begins by sailing to Rogueport, then immediately finding a female Goomba being pressured for crystal star information. She refuses to give in, so they try to capture her, but I quickly arrive to the rescue. The helpless Goomba immediately hides behind me, then the villain attacks. Suddenly we're in a theater, and the Goomba tells me to jump on the villain or smash them. I first choose jump, then press A before impact for a second damaging jump. Now Lord Crump charges me, but I press A before he butt smacks me, negating his damage. It's hammer time, so I draw it back, then smash him hard. Again, I block his butt slam, then finish him off with a double jump, earning 9 star points, which is 91 away from leveling up. But just when I thought I won, his minions swarmed me for punishment. Somehow the Goomba snuck out, so I calmly walk out to join her. While the minions still dogpile each other, we escape up the stairs and out before Crump finally notices that we're gone. The Goomba rewards me with a kiss, then reveals her name as Goombella. She's a junior at Goom University looking for the same legendary treasure, so I show her my map. Suddenly, Toadsworth shows up admitting he lost the princess, then tasks me with finding her. Since Peach is probably searching for the treasure, Goombella convinces me to join her for the legendary treasure hunt to hopefully find Peach. Now that Goombella is in my party, she can reveal information about nearby people and places. She says we gotta find her professor, but I first head left, then get stopped by a toad telling me to freeze while she searches for her contact lens. I stay still for a while, then try to leave, but immediately step on her contact. She screams in rage and demands I pay her for it. After I refuse, she blocks the gate until I buy her a new lens. Since she won't budge, I give up, then check the item shop for a contact lens, but they don't have any, so they place an order. Meanwhile, I learn from the other owner that I earn store points when purchasing items, then check the sign for the list of rewards. I decide not to buy anything for now, then leave to check out the inn. Inside is a red skullstone guarded by a rich guy, so I back off and head upstairs. After passing Toadsworth, I check outside, then try to jump over the wall to bypass the cairn below, but accidentally find a star piece instead. Further down, I crush a roach for a coin, then check a side house, but it's filled with junk. Now back in the square, I notice a big chest high above me, so I try to reach it from the inn's second floor, but it's not even close. Eventually I give up, then head right for a bandit to ram into me, stealing half my coins. Enraged, I immediately hunt him down, tracking him to that junk house to pound his face in till he returns my coins. Back in the east area, I open a shine sprite door to meet Merlin, who can upgrade my partners for 3 shine sprites. Since I'm broke, I leave and find the professor's door, but first talk to Gus. He'll let me pass if I pay 10 coins, but I instead choose to fight. I start with my hammer, then tattle with Goombella to see that Gus has 20 HP and 3 attack. That's a lot of attack for my 10 HP, so when Gus charges, I super guard to fully negate the damage while hurting him. Now I hammer again, then Goombella jumps but gets countered by Gus's pointy spear. This time I fail the super guard, taking 3 damage. Since Goombella can't help here, I have her defend while I super guard and hammer. Sadly, I get nervous and fail another super guard, then Gus mocks me, saying I should run. Instead of giving up, I hammer again before failing yet another super guard. Now at 1 HP, I take Gus's advice and run. But then Gus mocks me again, so I immediately rest at the inn to heal, then buy up some mushrooms before challenging Gus to a rematch. After I hammer Gus again and again, he suddenly throws a spear that I super guard, but then he targets Goombella for his next spear throw, catching me off guard. Now Gus' spear charges me, but I fail my guard, so Goombella uses a mushroom to heal me. After we trade more blows, Goombella heals me one last time, so I can super guard and deliver the final smash for 22 star points. Gus then breaks the 4th wall before running away. Sadly, every door behind him seems to be locked, and jumping into the water gets me chomped up back onto land. With nothing else to do, I enter the professor's home for Goombella to greet him. He struggles to remember her name, but eventually figures it out, though apparently he doesn't recognize me even by name. Once we bring up the legendary treasure, he mentions the need for crystal stars through an old saying. Since it rhymes, it must be true, which is why subscribing is what you should do. To find the stars, we'll need to hold the magical map up to the 1,000-year door, which happens to be under this town. Goombella Goombella reveals that we have the map, shocking the speechless professor who begs to see it. Once he confirms it's the real map, he excitedly guides us to follow him outside. Then he opens the gate and directs us to the pipe, but once I'm close, he stops me for action command practice. I accept and spar with Goombella to practice jumping, guarding, hammering, and the more difficult super guarding. After the tutorial, I head down the pipe into the underground where I get jumped by a bunch of Goombas. I slam the first Goomba with my hammer, instantly taking it out before Goombella headbonks the second to finish him as well. Now the spiky Goomba attacks, but I super guard then smash it to win the fight. Once the whining Goombas leave, the professor explains that if I hit an enemy outside of battle, I'll start the fight with the first strike. With that in mind, I explore left to find a sneaky star piece, then enter the nearby building to find a fortune teller who I can pay to guide me to shinies. But for now, I leave to explore the right, then slide down a pipe. Immediately, I hammer a Goomba for a first strike, earning a free attack, then jump to finish the fight. After more first strikes, I hammer blocks for items and to reveal the way forward before failing to pull down a loose wall, then sliding down. Suddenly, a little critter escapes into a hole, then a spinny enemy first strikes me. Even so, after a couple jumps and headbonks, we emerge victorious again. Further right, I pound a switch to peel off a big paper while somehow not affecting the smaller one, then head up the stairs. Inside the room, I find a sus metal chest asking for a key. With no other leads, I head outside and drop down to the key before returning to unlock the chest. But then the released villain betrays me, cursing me with the power to fly as a paper airplane. Feeling horribly cursed, I happily head out to the paper airplane platform to transform before flying onto the big block. Finally, we reach the 1,000-year door for my map to rise and be blessed, revealing that a castle contains the first crystal star. After I also learn Sweet Treat, we return to the professor's home to learn that the crystal star is located in Petal Meadows. We'll need to find a pipe to get there, especially since Princess Peach might also be there looking for the treasure. But before we leave, the professor teaches me about using Sweet Treat to throw stars for healing and flower points while avoiding poison shrooms. This drains my star power, but I can restore it by impressing the audience with successful attacks. Since it's dangerous to go alone, I take the professor's badge gift and equip the power smash, then meet Battle Master Toad. After practicing super guards for a bit, I learn about stylish moves which earn bonus star power, so I practice attacks. Pressing A right after a hammer smash lets me backflip and pose, while mid-air A's let me style on my foes. After enough practice, I leave and discover a secret brick gap hiding a bandit and a sneaky star piece. Then I check outside the inn's second floor to find the badge shop and buy nostalgic tunes as well as power jump. Finally, I return down the pipe, then head right to paper airplane form across the gap. Immediately, I smash a tentacle, angering its owner, which starts a boss fight. After I power jump a tentacle, the blooper asks if I think it would taste good. I say yes, so the blooper smacks me before I smash their other tentacle, making them fall. Now Goombella and I pound that tasty sushi into submission until it squirts out star points and 50 coins. The squirmy seafood blasts up away, revealing new platforms that I jump across to pipe into Chapter 1. We end up in Petal Meadows, immediately smashing trees for a mushroom and star piece. Suddenly, a giant dragon flies overhead, traveling to the castle. After passing moon and sun statue holes, I smash some Goombas to level my badge points, then pipe up to find a heart badge just out of reach. Behind some bushes, I find a pipe that leads to the background where I hammer a switch, gradually revealing a bridge. Crossing the bridge leads me to Petalburg, where a kind Koopa warns us about the dragon before suggesting we chat with the Elder. Nearby, I hammer the ground to raise a tile, but nothing seems to happen. Then I find a pink Afro doggo who flirts with Goombella, but she rejects him. After a toad warns me about monsters immune to normal attacks, I visit the shop to buy a couple POW blocks. Finally, I reach the Elder's house to see a badge I can't reach, so I give up and enter to chat with the Elder. At first, he thinks we're thieves, but after realizing we're here for the crystal stars, he reveals that the dragon Hooktail has the star. But to even reach Hooktail, we'll need the sun and moonstone located in Schwank Fortress. So I leave to exit the village, but then a Koopa named Coop stops me. Just before asking me for a favor, he chickens out and leaves, so we exit to the right. Suddenly, a sneaky Koopa attacks from a bush, then an audience member raises a rock, so I quickly smash them before they can throw it. Next, I hammer the Koopa, causing the background trees to fall and crush them. Now Goombella bounces off the Koopa to knock them down so I can pound their belly. After finishing off the Goomba, we head right into the fortress. Noticing the enemies, I hammer the pillar to knock them down for my first strike. But then my hammer does 0 damage, so I remember the Toad's warning and use a POW block to instantly win the fight. The gate opens, then we exit outside before reaching the next stone stony room. This time I awaken spiky ball enemies, but still just use a power block to easily win the fight. Exiting past this gate ultimately leads to another stony room with a save point and a thwomp in the back. I check on the thwomp, who suddenly wakes up and agrees to let me pass, but only if I win his game. After agreeing to their challenge, we end up in a trivia show where if I get 5 questions right, we win. But if I get 3 wrong, we'll suffer. The first question asks what's hidden in Shuang Fortress. I confidently answer sun and moonstones and lock in my answer, getting it right. But then they ask how much 1 mushroom and 1 fire flower cost, and I just don't remember, so I guess 10. Sadly, this is wrong, leading to my first strike. Question 3 is about the Petalburg mayor's name, which I also don't remember, so I guess Birtle. But now I'm wrong again, meaning I'm 1 strike away from something awful happening. Thankfully, the next question just asks where the crystal star is, which I confidently answer as Hooktail Castle. After answering Rogueport to Petal Meadows happening through a pipe and Koopa Troopas being found in Petalburg, I get both right, leading to the final question. What number question is this? At first, I worry that this is a trick question, thinking the Thwomp's non-trivia questions would add to the counter, but I ultimately guess 7. Thankfully, there's no trick, and I get the answer correct, barely winning the game. The angry Thwomp then moves out of the way so I can pipe down. Inside, I find and equip a multi-bounce badge before heading right to battle Fuzzies. After we quickly stomp and bonk the first Fuzzy, the second one jumps on me before sucking 1 HP out of me. But we still easily finish it off before walking right to first strike another group. The suck timing still throws me off, making me fail my blocks until finally I block a suck and finish off the Fuzzy. Just a bit further, I find the Sunstone before getting pounced by 4 Fuzzies. I try out multi-bounce, but it only does 1 damage to each Fuzzy. Thankfully, after enough jumps and even a super guarded suck, we win the fight. Next, we head all the way left, past more Fuzzies to pick up the Moonstone before another ambush. This time I pop a Fire Flower to instantly defeat all 4. With both stones, I head back to the entrance to be intercepted by a Gold Fuzzy. After taking a heavy power smash, the Fuzzy summons an army to swarm and attack before following up themselves. I ignore the horde to power jump the Gold Fuzzy, then heal Goombella before blocking the Fuzzy barrage. With one last head bonk, the Gold Fuzzy falls and 20 star points are mine. Once the Fuzzies retreat, we head back up the pipe and return to Petalburg. But just as I leave, Coop stops me again before begging me to let him fight Hooktail with me. His dad left to battle the dragon but never came back, so Coops wants to avenge his father and finish what he started. So I say yes, and he excitedly joins the party. Now I can bounce Coops' shell to grab items and even hold him in place before ramming switches. But suddenly, Koopy-Koo shows up to stop Coops out of concern, but he commits to joining us, which frustrates the Koopa girl. With her temper tantrum over, we cross a bridge, then first strike a Goomba to try Coops' shell toss and ram the Goomba. After winning the fight, we slide down a pipe to shell grab the badge that I couldn't reach before. Finally, we're back at the statues, so I slide in the Sunstone, then the Moonstone, causing the pillars to spin and reveal 2 switches. I accept the easiest peasiest challenge of teaming with Coops to hit both switches at the same time, revealing a pipe. After sliding down, I head to the right to finally enter Hooktail Castle. Right away, I save, then jump onto a spring to reach the balcony and paper airplane across. The lobby is filled with skeletons along with a flying Koopa that I accidentally first strike. Little by little, we clean up the fight, then I later level my badge points again. Ironically, I immediately find the Power Bounce badge to spend those 3 badge points on. Then in the next room, Coop suddenly panics when he finds his father's skeleton. He picks up and reads a note revealing that Hooktail hates frogs and that a relevant item is hidden in the castle. The note also reveals that the skeleton's son is Colorado, so this can't be Coops' father. We try to leave the room by moving a pink skeleton, but then it comes to life and summons an army of skeletons to swarm us. They push us back, but then I smash them away, slowly hammering towards the pink skeleton to start the fight. Since there's so many skeletons, I use Coops' power shell to ram through all of them, wiping out the normies, so only Pinky is left. After smashing some troublesome audience skeletons, I pounded shell ram the pink skeleton until they are slain. Now we can pass into the next room where I find my first Shine Sprite. Up the stairs, I hammer a pink switch to drop a platform, then smash a block so I can raise the yellow cube. Now I can shell toss the switch, which moves the stairs over so I can shell grab the key. Unlocking the door leads to a save block, then a prison where I first strike a skeleton. The fight's going well until a Toad's about to toss me a coin, but I accidentally tell Coops to ram them out of the room. Still, we finish the fight, then set up Coops' shell to hit a switch while I'm next to the gate to quickly enter. There's a familiar dark chest inside with a familiar voice asking me to find the key to set them free. Expecting a trap, I still enter the next room, then then open the middle chest for the key. Suddenly, spikes rise from the ground and the spike-covered ceiling slowly lowers towards us. We have 50 seconds to get the heck out of here, but I keep getting cornered in this maze. Thankfully, I eventually figure it out, making it to the start to quickly escape. And what's my reward for unlocking this chest? Yet another evil spirit who immediately curses me with the power to rotate 90 degrees. Thankfully, this curse allows me to escape between the bars and quickly pick up a frog sound badge. I immediately equip it to add frog noises to my attack, since this must be the dragon's weakness. Then I return to the Skelly Swarm room to pass the bars for a green key. Finally, I take the green elevator up and unlock the door before passing through. Smashing the switch reveals a bridge, then Koopa smashing reveals another bridge before I jump through the window to cross the last gap. Through the door is a big elevator that Koops' reverse shell helps us activate. A sneaky life shroom is just out of reach, so I get to the top, then jump down to squeeze through the bars for the shroom. Finally, we reach the top again and exit left to find a mouse thief named Miss Mouse looting for badges. She gives me a kiss, then jumps to the window before advising me to find the badge to help me beat Hooktail. Once she's gone, I loot the chest for items and a key before grabbing the Shine Sprite and heading out. To the right is a long hallway leading to a yellow switch that I reverse Coop Shell to ride the block up. Now we carefully cross the narrow strip and squeeze between the bars to paper airplane to the exit. Inside, I ram a switch to lower a block so I can Koops the key and drop down for a badge. After piping back, I climb the stairs to a Shine Sprite, then unlock and enter the door. Now we're outside and climb a tower even higher up before reaching a save block near a giant door. This must be Hooktail's door, so we enter inside to awaken the dragon, who approaches and roars. She threatens to chew on our feet before cooking and eating us. The fight starts with the giant dragon slamming the stage and calling us snacks. But once I jump on her head, the frog noise is a reminder of past food poisoning, making her feel sick. She reacts with fire breath, which I fail to dodge, but then I power bounce on her head, making her even weaker. Goobella's tattle reveals Hooktail's original stats and warns me not to fall for her tricks. Then Hooktail tries to crush me, but I super guard her paw again and again. With one last shell toss, Hooktail surrenders, offering 10,000 coins for her life. Since I don't trust her, I say no, so she instead offers a rare badge. But then I decline again, so now she offers to let me smell her world-famous feet. As incredibly tempting as that is, I reject her offer, so she gives up and backs off, until she suddenly devours the audience for 10 health, scaring the others away. After sweet treating to restore FP, I super guard her paw slam, then jump onto her snout to free some toads. With one last power bounce, the dragoness is slain, rewarding us with 30 star points and 100 coins. Suddenly, the fallen dragon spits out a shell containing a living Koopa that Koops recognizes as his father. The dad reveals he almost beat Hooktail himself, but was stunned by her foot smell, then swallowed whole. But while in her belly, he found the crystal star and now lets me have it, raising my star power and teaching me Earth Tremor. Suddenly, we see Peach escorted by villains who ask her where the map is. She lies, saying she doesn't know, then the X-Nauts threaten her. But before things get ugly, a minion reports that someone beat Hooktail and claimed the crystal star. Once they describe the victor as a mustache dude in red hat and blue overalls, Peach slips up, revealing my name of Mario. Grotus now orders Peach to be taken to her cell before commanding Lord Crump to find the next star before me. Then Grotus summons 3 shadows to find me and take my map. Now as Peach, I explore my cell when suddenly the door opens on its own. Exploring to the right leads to another self-opening door, which I pass through. Inside, I'm greeted by a robot named Tech, built by Grotus to be the perfect computer. It lured me here since it felt strange malfunctions when looking at me, which made it want to observe me more. I can't figure out why, but I suspect that Tech might be in love with me. Tech doesn't understand, but wants me to teach it how to feel love in exchange for letting me send emails. After sending my message, Tech lets me leave before wishing me goodnight. Now as Bowser, I enter my castle before heading to the back to meet with Kammy Koopa. She reports that Mario's in Rogueport hunting for the crystal stars and that Princess Peach has been kidnapped. This enrages me since only I am allowed to kidnap Peach. Immediately I fly through my wall while Kammy follows. Now that I'm back as Mario, Koops tells his dad, girlfriend, and elder that he's leaving with me. Goombella then advises that we bring the star to the door to learn where the next star is. But first, I squeeze between events for a new badge that massively boosts partner attack when they're at 1 HP. Finally, we leave Petalburg before being interrupted by a ringtone. It's Peach's message explaining that she's been captured and that her captors are searching for the crystal stars. Now warned, we stay on our guard while returning to Rogueport to enter the Trouble Center and take on some quests. After entering Merlin's house to power up Koops, I hammer a mouse till they remember, bring a bob-omb some food and invest in a green rat's business. Completing most troubles rewards me with coins till I accept Try to Find Me and return to Hooktail Castle to find the sneaky Koopa. Koopook rewards me with a special card, then I return to Rogueport to finish the other troubles for more coins and to unlock a Kraw's door. After investing 100 more coins, I return to the 1,000-year door to squeeze through a fence before bouncing and paper airplaning to ultimately reach a shine sprite. We explore left to find the pit of 100 trials, but back out to visit the door and deliver the star. Suddenly, the second star's location is revealed, which the professor clarifies as Boggly Woods. He shows a picture of the woods creature, then suggests we search for a pipe beneath town. Suddenly, I'm emailed about the contact lens arriving, so I rush to the shop to buy it for 10 coins. Immediately, I deliver it to Karen Toad, who moves out of the way and enters her home. Now she'll cook items for me, so I choose turtley leaf for Koopa tea, mushrooms for fries, syrup for juice, and fire flower for soup. I even give her a power block, which ends up as a mistake. Finally, I explore the West Town, which looks much nicer, before finding the lottery and buying a ticket. My ticket loses, but I still get a mushroom and can return for tomorrow's numbers with the same ticket to see if I win. Finally, I paper form down the grate and jump right to find a hidden town. Inside is a very expensive shop with powerful items. I decide to leave and head back left to drop down and enter the pipe. Down below, I squeeze through the fence and enter the door for my map to light up and reveal a new pipe. Smashing a switch reveals another new pipe that shortcuts to Rogueport Square, while pipe 1 leads straight to Petalburg. Back in Rogueport, I return to West Town and enter Pianta Parlor. Inside, I can trade coins for Pianta tokens and use my member card to play the plane game. After checking out the rewards, I buy 10 tokens to try out the plane game and fly into more tokens while traveling as far as I can. With enough practice, I start winning over 20 tokens, then quit to buy some cake mix. Cooking the cake mix results in mousse cake, which restores 15 FP. Satisfied, I finally pipe back down, then squeeze and pipe again before noticing the professor's creature going down a pipe. I follow them down before they squeeze into a hole, so I follow through a fence. Finally, I corner them, but then they scream, begging me not to eat them. But once they realize we're friendly, they reveal that the X-Nauts raided their great tree, so they need us to help. Since the crystal star might be there, we agree to help Punyo and follow him to open the way for us. To the left is a badge that boosts my blocks, while the right leads to a pipe that transports us to Boggly Woods. Now we head to the right to find the 3 shadows searching for me to steal my map. The red-hatted Vivian found a necklace, while the blue-hatted Beldam asks her for the Mario sketch. But then Vivian insists that Beldam had it. Then the yellow-hatted Marilyn notices us, but the shadows don't recognize me without the sketch, so they don't care. Beldam angrily punishes Vivian by taking the necklace, making her sad. Once they're done, we freely pass by, hammering trees for coins and smashing piranha plants. Eventually, we see the big tree, so Punyo rushes inside. But I first head right to pipe up and paper airplane across, though the end is too high. But through a secret staircase, I find a back path leading to a switch that raises the plane start. After piping up again and coopsing the shine sprite, I'm now high enough to fully make it across and grab the quick hammer badge. But before traveling too far, I head back to Punyo's pipe, then slide inside before jumping across to reach the great tree. After finding a hidden FP Plus badge, I check the tree's front to see a metal door that's completely locked. Punyo then leads us to a secret entrance, but it's blocked, so we'll need the help of a wind spirit named Flurry to blow away the blockage. Suddenly, we see Madame Flurry in her home, but she panics when realizing that something is missing. So now I leave the tree and head to the right to airplane across the gap again. Further east, I squeeze through a gap, then slide down a pipe to ultimately jump to Madame Flurry's home. It seems empty until we reach the door when she demands that we don't enter. Punyo asks for help with the tree, but while Flurry does want to help, she won't come out until she has her favorite necklace. So we leave to search for the necklace, then suddenly it's shown that Beldam finds the sketch, revealing that I'm their target. She somehow blames Vivian again and mentions the necklace, so we head back to confront them. Beldam threatens to take our map, then attacks us with her sisters. I decide to try out Earth Tremor, pressing A at the perfect moments again and again to enlarge my star until finally we slam the ground multiple times, dealing 6 damage. Then a follow-up power shell is enough to finish off Beldam. After easily blocking Marilyn and Vivian, just one hammer smash and shell toss wraps up the fight. Then the trio runs off, leaving the necklace behind. I quickly pick it up, then head all the way back to Madame Flurry to deliver the necklace. After snatching it between the doors, she reveals herself, then blows a kiss before rushing me for a big smooch. Since she's bored and seduced by my mustache, she joins our exciting adventure. Flurry can blow loose paper away and wind stun enemies. Punis. With our new ally, we head back towards the tree and smash a cloud along the way. Before an audience Goomba can throw a rock, Flurry launches her entire body to crush them. Then I try Gale Force, which blows the enemies away, winning the fight. The next fight is easily cleared with Quake Hammer, letting me level my flower points. Finally back at the tree, Flurry blows away some paper to reveal this secret entrance. After Punio rushes inside, Flurry reveals she was once an actress, then Punio unlocks the door. Finally we make it inside for X-Nauts to notice and attack us. After a couple body slams, the X-Nauts retreat, then hidden Punies reveal themselves. But before Punio can rally them, a chonky one discourages the others from joining us until we free the rest. So we head up pipe after pipe after pipe after pipe until we reach the cages. We find the Elder in a red cage, then Punio's sister Petuni and the other Punies in a blue cage. To the left, we see an X-Naut get struck by a shadow, which happens to be Miss Mouse. Once again, she kisses me, then jumps to the window before revealing that the crystal star is under the tree. After she leaves, the X-Naut wakes up and attacks us before being crushed by Flurry's thighs and dropping the red key. Immediately, I loot an Ultra Shroom before returning to the Elder cell to unlock it. But rather than thanking us, the Elder is enraged that Punio ran off in the first place. After finishing her lecture, she leaves down the pipe, so we head down ourselves to regroup with the others. Since we only rescued the Elder, the chonky Puni still doesn't want to help us, which enrages the Elder. She commands the others to help me, so 10 Punies join my party. Flurry then asks about the crystal star, which the Elder confirms is hidden under the tree. After giving us the Puni orb to help with guiding the Punies, the Elder says she can call back lost Punies, then we head up the pipe. Now with enough Punies, I step onto a pressure plate and insert the orb to reveal a pipe. After sliding down, we unlock a shortcut door, then jump across the gap to place the orb in the pedestal. The Punies then rush to the edge, so Flurry blows them off for Bubbles to catch them and be blown across. After grabbing the stone, we head down another pipe before reaching a spider that jump scares my Punies. Immediately we smash and crush the spiders, then slide down one pipe and another to catch a bug flying off with the blue key. Before chasing the Jabby, I jump down, then blow the left fake wall away to find a hidden shop. Suddenly I find a Jabby child behind the left stump, but decide to give him a chance. Appreciating this, he joins our party, then we leave and head up the pipe. Finally, we head right to find a Jabby hive where 10 Jabby come out. After Punio rallies our forces, we charge into the Jabby and fight courageously before defeating all of them. Then my Punies rush into the hive and destroy it, which allows us to pass through. Inside is a chest with the blue key, so I immediately start heading back. On the way, I blow away a fake blockage, then paper airplane back and forth to a shine sprite. Then back at the bubble room, I drop down for another shine sprite. Once I reach the Elder, she calls the Punies, then we head all the way back to the blue cell. Finally, we unlock the cell for the Punies to rush out before Punio hugs his sister. With our 101 Puni army, we now head back down the tree and explore the left to find another Jabby hive with an army of 100. But we fearlessly charge, clashing with the insects as casualties rise on both sides. Though when the battle ends, we emerge victorious before destroying the hive to pass through. Eventually, I reach a pillar to slot the stone, but then we're suddenly caged in a surprise trap. Lord Grump then reveals himself, mocking us for falling for his trap before leaving to search for the star. Thankfully, I can paper form out, but the Punies can't follow me. I leave them behind for now to smash a switch, revealing 4 switches elsewhere before making note of the nearby pillars. Then we leave to where we found the blue key and hammer the switches to change the pillar sequence to the one we saw before. A new path is revealed, so we enter inside to open the giant chest for the super boots. Now I have the power to spin jump, which lets me break X planks and do more damage in battle. After heading outside, I spin jump the X to land on a pillar before carefully jumping gaps to reach a shine sprite. Then I head back towards the Punies to ground pound another X and head down a pipe. This pipe leads to a flooded room, so I pipe down, jump across, then pipe back up to set Coops up and ram the switch. Suddenly the water drains down to the room below, so I slide back down to grab the shine sprite. Further down, I find a pressure plate needing 101 Punies, so I realize that there was a way to free them and head back. Quickly, I squeeze back into their cage, then spin jump the hidden X to free the Punies. After slotting the orb and blowing the Punies into the hole, we manage to regroup and gradually return to that 101 pressure plate. Then I insert the orb, lowering the elevator platform before we head to the right. Lord Crump seems to be struggling to find the star, but then he hears us coming and hides before we notice him. Unaware of his ambush, we approach the central pillar and slot in the orb to lower the plate and release the crystal star. But before we can claim it, Lord Crump rushes to steal the star before stepping aside to activate a time bomb and escape into a pipe. Immediately we rush into the pipe while the clock keeps ticking even during battles until we we catch up to Crump. The Elder then blocks Crump from escaping while turning huge and shrinking Crump till her back aches and their sizes change back. But before Crump can hurt her, we rush to stop Crump so he turns off the time bomb. Though suddenly he enters a flying ball that transforms into a giant robot. The fight begins, so I start with a spin jump to work on cracking that dome. Then Crump approaches, choosing a target before stomping down hard. Now with Goombella, I tattle to learn the robot's stats in that it shoots out powerful rocket fists. Sure enough, after our next spin jump and body slam, Crump launches his fists. Immediately we jump and slam them before launching a fitting counter squish to destroy the robot. After we claim 100 coins and 30 star points, Crump is shamefully defeated, then the crystal star is ours, teaching us clock out. Suddenly we see X-Nauts reporting to Grotus that I took the star and defeated Crump as well as the Shadows. They don't know where the next star is, but apparently they already have one, so only 4 have yet to be found. Now as Peach, I head back to Tech, who somehow feels that it wants to dance with me. Suddenly my clone appears and we start our dance with me pressing different buttons for flashy spins. Once our dance completes, Tech thanks me by letting me send another message before I head back to my room. Now as Bowser, I land in Petalburg with Kammy Koopa to search for the princess. Suddenly a classic Mario level begins, so I fry Goombas, then jump into blocks to collect meat and grow huge. With my massive pride, I smash everyone and everything, including the end pole, to beat the level. Now in Petalburg, I scare away a Koopa, then notice Peach in a window before approaching to greet her. But before I can kidnap her, a Koopa shows up to roll up the poster and hide indoors, completely surprising me. Finally back as Mario, I'm with the Poonies, who thank me for my help, then wish me luck before waving goodbye. On my way out, I get mail from Princess Peach assuring me that she's okay and that she'll share helpful intel. I then return to Rogueport to upgrade Flurry before trying Lip Lock to kiss health out of a cleft. Finally, I head to the 1,000-year door to deliver the star, revealing the next one in the sky. The professor reveals that this next star is in the floating town of Glitzville, so we'll need to ride the blimp by getting a ticket from Don Pianta. But before looking for the Don, I accept a trouble involving the pit of 100 trials, then head on over. A Toad child there tells me his father entered the pit for treasure and never came out, so I slide down to search for his father. Each room leads to a new battle, but we handle ourselves just fine, clearing trial after trial. Finally, in trial 18, I defeat a Pokey and find the Toad's father. But since there's no escape, the Toad follows me as I clear another room, then claim the fire drive badge and slide up a pipe. Now that his father's back, the child thanks me by giving me a silver card. After one last investment with the rat, I head to Pianta Parlor with my silver card to try out the paper game. I have to race lots of people while paper forming through wind and not falling off to reach the end. After farming this game for lots of tokens, I buy several cake mixes and have Chef Karen bake them into cakes. Then back in Pianta Parlor, a Goomba advises me regarding meeting the Dawn to chat with Ishnail to the east. After heading to East Town, I squeeze through a gap then enter a building to talk to Ishnail. He demands 64 coins for the info, so I pay up, then he reveals how to meet the Dawn. I need to buy a dried mushroom, then a dizzy dial before being asked my favorite color and responding yellow. Following his instructions, I leave to West Town and enter the shop to buy the mushroom and dial, but then the Boo asks about my mustache color. Confused, I eventually answer yellow, then she corrects herself, asking about my favorite color. I answer yellow again, so she unlocks the door and I enter inside. I ask the Dawn for a blimp ticket, which he agrees to give me if I find his daughter and the guy she ran away with. After some searching, I find the duo at the docks and tell them that her father is looking for them. Frankie wants to return to the Dawn to reason with him while Francesca wants to run away. She's clearly madly in love with him and begs me not to tell her father where they are. I agree to her request and head back to the Dawn, saying I can't tell him where they are. This angers him, but before he can attack me, the loving duo shows up, each one begging the Dawn to forgive their partner. The Dawn reacts in rage, but instead of punishing them, he tells them to go, even letting them get married. They thank him before leaving, then the Dawn rewards me with a blimp ticket. Finally, I head up towards the blimp to show the Cheep Cheep my ticket before piping down and climbing aboard. With all of us in the blimp, we soar overhead until reaching the floating island of Glitzville. To the right, I find a large blue switch that I quickly spin jump to gradually reveal a staircase. Up top is a chest with a Power Plus P badge that I immediately put on to boost partner attack. Finally, I head inside, then jump up the stairs to enter the door and watch a fight. The bird fighter finishes off the armored Koopa before revealing his champion belt carrying the crystal star. To get the belt and star, I decide to join the arena by talking to a guard who lets me inside. After finding Grubba's office, I enter inside, then Grubba takes me for a tour before showing me the Champions Room and the Major League's locker room. He lets me become a fighter after I sign a contract, but changes my stage name to be the Great Gonzalez. Suddenly, his assistant Jolene comes in to guide me all the way to the minor league locker room. It's a mess, but I can rank up to better rooms by winning ranked matches. So I tap the Game Boy Advance for a ranked match against the Goomba Bros, but I need to appeal to the crowd at least once. Suddenly, security shows up, so I follow them out to jump up to the ring, but then the Goombas interrupt Grubba and first strike me. So I have Flurry appeal the crowd, then use Quake Hammer to instantly beat the Goombas. Back in my room, I accept my coin reward and rank up, then chat with a friendly Koopa named King K, who introduces me to my roommates. Eager to rank up, I start another ranked match, this time against King K, who wishes me good luck. Though after a spin jump, deep kiss, and body slam, we easily win the fight, earning a rank up and King K's congratulations. Then I defeat Pokies, Dull Bones, and Spinies for coins and raising rank before King K tells me about the hot dog stand's Mystic Egg. So I head back to the Glitz Pit's lobby to find Rock Hawk surrounded by adoring fans. While squeezing through the crowd, I listen to Rock Hawk boasting, then leave to immediately notice some ruckus outside as the hot dog pig chases after an egg. Worried about his rare imported egg, he calls for help to catch it, so I run after it, but it just bounces around and finally lands on top of the hot dog stand. But by crossing the plaza and jumping on the juice bar's roof to use a spring, I can fold into paper plane mode and fly back to land right next to the egg. After joking about eating the egg, I agree to spare it, making it bounce happily before it decides to follow me. With my new egg, I return to the Glitz Pit and let it sit on the locker room's bench, then check the Game Boy Advance to challenge the Handed-Overs. Now facing the group of bandits in the arena, I use my Fire Drive badge to burn them all, then body slam until the fire damage and a normal jump does the rest. Victoriously, I receive my prize money and confirmation that I now reached rank 14. Then suddenly, King K lets me know about a stunning babe he saw at the juice shop and asks me to check her out for him, so I head over to the juice bar right away and enter inside. Indeed, I find a familiar looking female toad who tells me about Prince Mush, the long lost champion of the Glitz Pit. Next, I listen to what the others in the bar have to say and learn about a rumor that Rock Hawk actually rigged the fight with Prince Mush to force him to withdraw. Curious about those rumors, I return to the Glitz Pit, and near the locker room, a green bandit tells me about the 7 wonders of the Glitz Pit. Turns out there are a bunch of local myths that seem a bit suspicious, like the man-eating toilet, but also mention disappearing fighters. Without further ado, I challenge the Glitz Pit again and defeat the Gray Entanglers, earning me another rank. Sadly, King K explains that he'll retire after his next match, but I continue fighting to the top by beating Clefts and Bob-Ombs who talk to each other afterwards because they feel so lonely without King K. Luckily, Jolene quickly brings in a new contestant, a Swoop, and explains to him how to use the Game Boy Advance terminal to start a match. After all the explanation, Sir Swoop introduces himself to the rest and soon gets picked up for his first match. My next match, however, is against the Adonis twins who take no damage from any of my attacks. Eventually, I give up and run back to the locker room where Jolene hands me a consolation prize. Out of nowhere, I hear a voice from across the room, then suddenly realize that Baby Yoshi has hatched from the egg. He promises to repay me for taking care of his egg and swallow my opponent's whole for me, but since he's a hatchling, I have to name him first. After choosing Garo, I take him for a ride. Of course, I immediately board the blimp back to Rogueport to visit Merlin and power up Garo to unlock his mini egg ability before quickly returning to Glitzville. It's time to rematch the Adonis twins, but this time, Garo chimes in and simply gulps down one of the twins and smacks him against his brother. With the first one defeated, the second one is numbed just as quickly, winning me the fight. With that, I reach the Major League, and after a short celebration, I get invited by Jolene to speak to Mr. Grubba in his office. So we barge in, and I get rewarded with some extra money and a proposition to switch my outfit to something pink with frills. Luckily, I dodged that bullet and can now enter the Major League locker room where harder fights are available. To my surprise, Rock Hawk shows his studly presence and checks me out, but figures I'm not much of a threat to him. Unbothered by this, both I and Garo give his lower body a good inspection and learn that the crystal star on his belt is a fake. Sour about this conclusion, the champion threatens me, then leaves the room. Now, without any clues, I get shaken by the intense vibration of my mailbox SP as a mysterious message comes in telling me to to follow the instructions of the sender X in order to find the crystal star. After talking to the other contestants and harassing a hammer bro with my own hammer, I use the new pink Game Boy Advance to start the next fights. In the Major League, I annihilate red spike tops and bristles, then suddenly I feel another buzzing in my pants. It's another message from X instructing me to go to the watering hole outside of the glitz pit. Curious, I ride Garo outside to look for the aforementioned hole, but it turns out they really meant the juice bar where I receive a package left from me containing a super hammer. With Toadette's instructions, I learn a new technique to swing my hammer in a circle, enabling me to break the yellow blocks. Suddenly, another email from X instructs me to smash in the locker room and remove the blockade. Of course, I ride Garo over there right away, but learn that somehow I'm now back in minor league and wonder if X pulled some strings. Either way, I can now enter the old locker room and promptly tease the Adonis twins for being sent down a league by me. With my new hammer technique, I smash the yellow block, allowing me to reach a hidden room that looks like some kind of abandoned office. By using Garo's flutter jump, I reach the top of a shelf with a paper on it containing research on the crystal stars. Just when I leave, Jolene catches me snooping around to confiscate the research document. At least now I'm able to return to the Major League locker room and proceed with the matches against a gang of shady Koopas and a paratroopa that I beat with jumps and noms. My celebration gets cut short, however, as the Adonis brothers enter the arena, challenging me to a rematch. They're still weak to getting swallowed and spat out, so I'm soon victorious again. Just when Jolene leaves me in the locker room, a new message comes in, but this time it's a threat to not stick my nose where it doesn't belong. But I must keep fighting, so I keep climbing my way up the ranks and defeat a colorful group of fuzzies. After the match, an armored Koopa calls me over for a piece of cake. I decide to chow down on the sussy cake, and Garo just swallows the piece whole. My next opponents are the Magic Koopa Masters, but despite their magic enlargement tricks, I managed to defeat them. Though just when I was enjoying my victory, none other than Bowser barges in to fight me. After guarding Fire Breath and Bites, I smack him with my hammer and have Garo numb him for the win. With Bowser taken care of, I now have to best a Dark Claw to rank up further, after which I suddenly notice another email from X, instructing me to go to the telephone booth outside on the pavilion. Unfortunately, Rockhawk stops me and threatens me for stealing the spotlight from him, but I leave anyway to reach the phone booth and to my surprise, find a storage key inside. Immediately afterwards, I get an email to check the storage room next to Grubba's office, so of course I head back and surprisingly find Jolene near the storage room entrance. Luckily, she sends the guard away, then tells me to stay away from places where I have no business being. Of course, I don't listen and enter, then shockingly find Miss Mouse inside. She greets me flirtily as ever, then admits that she has already taken what she needs before kissing me and warning about the dark secrets of this arena before she leaves. Another message from X instructs me to find the switch to reach the attic, so I hammer bonk all the boxes before flipping a floor tile with a ground pound to reveal a star piece. However, I need Flurry's blowing skills to discover that the boxes hide yellow blocks that I can now break to discover a charge P badge and the blue switch that lowers a staircase for me. Upstairs, I take a shine sprite, then make it on top of some boxes using Garo's flutter jump. After breaking a massive yellow block that was sitting on top of a hole, I jump down to now sneak through the lower ceiling space. By peeping through a hole, I could see right into Grubba's office, discussing with Jolene how someone broke into the storage room. Then he asks about the whereabouts of King K, and with all those disappearances, he wonders if the pit might be cursed. But then Grubba grows suspicious of Jolene and how she keeps disappearing sometimes, then directly asks her if she has heard of the crystal star. But Jolene denies everything and leaves. Now Garo wonders about the missing fighters too, but that alerts Grubba, so I decide to sneakily belch, which somehow convinces Grubba that it must be a burpin' beetle. Next, I flip myself to fit through the air vent, then fall down to the storage area, and from there, make my way back to the locker room to pick the next fight. I get matched against a hammer, fire, and boomerang bro, but manage to win and advance to the next rank. In the locker room, a new message comes in giving me a final warning to stop searching for the crystal star, or I'll end up like the other missing fighters. But before the next fight, Jolene arrives with more suspicious cake, and this time Goombella just eats the whole piece. But as Goombella suddenly gets all dizzy and faints, it's clear that something's not right with this cake. On top of that, I get called for the match, and despite my paralyzed partner, I have to fight. Grubba announces my solo entrance, then introduces my enemies, the red chain chomps. Luckily, my hammer is strong enough to damage them, quickly allowing me to win the battle and celebrate, then reach rank 2 and talk to the now recovered Goombella. And with that, I finally meet the rank 1 opponent, a dark Koopa Troll that I smack and numb until he charges himself himself up with a prideful attack boost. Luckily, Garo swallows him before he can attack with that buff, ranking me up to 1. Again, a message arrives, and this time it's from X again, telling me to remove the Gonzalez posters in the lobby. So I head there to blow the posters with Flurry until behind one of them I find a storage key, which X explains is for the storage room's 2nd floor. Inside, I flutter jump to another big yellow block that I smash to find Bandy Andy and King K flat on the ground underneath. Bandy Andy warns me not to go to the ring when no one is around, so with nothing left to do, I head back to the door. For just a second, I see Jolene peek through the door suspiciously, so I immediately rush after her. Unfortunately, she's gone, so I go back to the locker room to now compete for the champion title. This time they lead me a different way because it's a special match, and although it's kind of sus, I follow along, only to be led to enter a different locker room which is completely empty. Meanwhile, the match is already starting and Rock Hawk enters the ring without me. Luckily, Goombella gets tired of waiting and realizes they locked us in. So Grumba figures I'm a no-show and even announces that I'll forfeit if I don't fight. Hastily, I start searching the locker room and blow a Peach poster to find a secret exit. He leads me into some kind of hidden living room from where I can now reach another locker room where luckily I find a toilet that I can use to slide down like a pipe. This flushes me straight to the Major League locker room, and this time I make sure to head directly to the pit. Just in time, I enter the ring and challenge Rock Hawk, who admits to having me locked up and to sending me the sussy cake, but doesn't seem to know anything about the emails I got about the Crystal Star. After guarding his wrestling move, I use the Green Star's clock out ability to stun bomb him for 3 turns. While he's Zawaru-doed, I jump on him and use Garo's eggs to bombard him before finally finishing him off with a powerful ground pound, easily winning me the fight. With the sore loser on the ground, I accept the champ's belt from Grubba and happily enjoy the crowd cheering for me. Jolene then rewards me with a whopping 100 coins before guiding me to the champ's room, which is much more luxurious than the smelly locker rooms and has a golden Game Boy Advanced on the wall. Although there's still no trace of the Crystal Star, Garo notices sounds from the vent near us and figures it must be a ghost. Suddenly, the intense vibration of a message shakes us again, and it's X telling us to discover the true nature of the ghost. After searching the champ's room, I flutter jump to the vent and bust it open with my hammer. Next, I sneak through the air duct to overhear someone on the other side of the vent speaking about an evil plan to never let their body get weak using some kind of shady method, and Garo figures out it's Grubba speaking. Conveniently, he describes exactly where he's hiding the incriminating papers, so I break down the vent and head straight for the desk to open the drawer. It turns out to be blueprints for a machine under the ring using the Crystal Star. Just when we learn that the machine is used to suck the power out of people, Grubba walks in on us, shocked that we infiltrated his office. But Garo immediately confronts him, so Grubba runs off and we chase right after him. We follow him straight to the ring with no one around, where he now shows us his big secret, the massive suck machine with the Crystal Star on top that he used to steal the power from other fighters. Now he charges up the machine and sucks up all the power to turn himself into the mighty macho Grubba. Shocked to see his new shape, we watch him growl before starting the fight. He immediately buffs himself to now be able to attack twice, which he uses to boost his defense, then smacks me with his butt. So I use the timeout bomb to get in a lot of free damage in by egging him and spin jumping before numbing him for a hard-earned victory. Baffled at how he could lose despite his perfectly muscular body, he finally falls. Then Jolene arrives to explain how her brother, Mush, became a fighter to support her family, but then went missing, causing her to investigate in secret and become the mysterious X. Now she confronts Grubba, who explains that Mush discovered the secret of his suck machine, so he sucked him to hide his secret. Suddenly, the star starts shining and a mysterious glow lands on the ground, which turns out to be Prince Mush. After finally seeing her brother again, Jolene releases the Crystal Star for us, which I happily accept. Meanwhile, in a different place, the three shadows make excuses to Grotus, who starts to get impatient with their lack of progress in dealing with me, but Beldam still seems confident and leaves with her sisters. Meanwhile, Peach is still in her cell when suddenly her door opens up. Now taking over as Peach, I start snooping around, then take a quick shower before heading through that opened door. After making my way through the corridor, I reach Tech again, who wants me to go to Grotus and ask him something to fix some kind of missing data issue. His plan is to disguise me as a soldier, and since he won't take no for an answer, I ride the elevator to enter the soldier's locker room and change into a uniform. Perfectly disguised as an X-Naut, I walk up to Sir Grotus, asking him what his plans for Peach are. For some reason, we're not to treat her roughly, and although he refuses to elaborate, he mentions a legendary treasure and conquering the world. Before he gets too suspicious of me, I take my leave, then change back into my dress and return to Tech. I confront him with what I just learned, then Tech asks if I like the world I live even, which of course I do. Next, I ask Tech to use his communicator, then send a message and head back to my room. Meanwhile, Bowser arrives in Boggly Woods, giving the Poonies a good scare with his thickness. But now that I'm playing as the Koopa King, I can use my fire breath and search the bushes to scare the Poonies out of hiding. Eventually, I find the Elder, who suddenly enlarges. The Elder immediately realizes I'm here for the Crystal Star and is enraged over my rudeness. But she then reveals that Mario already took the star, shocking me before I swear to take the stars and Princess Peach. Back in the Glitz Pit as Mario, I listen to Rock Hawk, promising to fight fair from now on, then Jolene wishes me the best on my travels. With the cheap blimp, I return to Rogueport where I receive an email from Peach telling me of the X-Naut's plan to take over the world and use the Crystal Stars to claim some kind of legendary treasure. But first I enter the fast travel hub to crush the yellow block and discover a Shine Sprite, then visit Merlin to power up Goombella. Next, I head back underground and make my way over to Dazzle to trade star pieces for the Quick Change and Power Plus badges. Then I equip the Quick Change badge so my partners can act even after switching. Next, I ride pipes down to sub-level 3 where I find another smashable block which reveals a star piece and a spring that I can use to reach a ledge for a shortcut to the 1,000-year door. With my partners around me, I place the new crystal star down and open my map to see the red crystal star's location revealed. Completely shocked about the bad guy's conquest, the professor explains that the treasure they're looking for is actually the great cataclysm that sank that city 1,000 years ago. So he urges us to get the next star in Twilight Town and finds a book for us that explains that we'll have to look somewhere under the West Town to find it. But before I go, I check the Trouble Center and find a trouble posted by Jolene who needs some cleaning done. So I quickly ride Garo to the fast travel hub where the map starts glowing and reveals a new fast travel pipe leading me to Glitzville. Next, I enter the Glitz Pit and head to the promoter's room where Jolene is already waiting for me and asks me to return to the arena. Unfortunately, all my battle records are gone, which means I'll have to fight my way to the top again. Then I talk to her about the request, and for that, she asks me to get rid of some garbage in the storage room. I make my way over, then shockingly find the floor littered with stinky battle trunks. One by one, I pick up the sweaty wrestler underwear until the entire room is cleaned up and return them to Jolene. But the manly stench offends her, and she sends me away to find a Goomba called Goomfree who seems to like that kind of stuff. I find Goomfree in front of Merlin's house and satisfy his needs with my pile of stinky trunks, then return to Jolene to get paid for my services. Back at Rogueport, I enter the West Town's underground, and thanks to Yoshi's Flutter Jump, I reach a Shine Sprite with a pipe leading to the area's background. Jumping over some platforms earns me a star piece, and behind a door I discover a pipe, but it spits me back out, rejecting me. Garo suggests asking the professor about it, but the Goomba doesn't seem to have the slightest idea what to do. Luckily, he remembers someone from Twilight Town living in Rogueport and suggests asking him. I find Darkly in the back alley, and he explains that the pipe's secret is to wear something with my name written on it. So he writes Mario on my butt and Garo on Garo's butt. On my way back, I use Garo's Flutter Jumps to explore Rogueport's roofs, discovering a hidden star piece and a Shine Sprite. To my surprise, there's a person standing on top of the roofs named Grifty who says he can tell me stories if I pay him. After learning about a calamity in the form of a demon and a bunch of heroes who face this darkness, I flutter back down and return to West Rogueport's underground. Thanks to the name on my butt, I can now slide through the pipe without problems and reach Twilight Town. A resident notices us and is surprised since outsiders haven't visited in a long time. Just when he's about to explain why it's a bad time to arrive, a bell rings and suddenly he turns into a pig right in front of me. Next, the mayor, Dower, arrives and invites me to his home. Inside, he explains that the town has been cursed by a creature living in a place called Creepy Steeple. Each time the steeple's bell rings, its curse turns a villager into a pig. He suggests that we leave before we too become pigified. Despite that, Garo asks him about the crystal star, and Dower describes a stone in the steeple that must be the star. So I head east where I find a scared family in a room. But after I share some food with them, the mother is happy and rewards me with the shooting star. But suddenly the curse turns her into a pig, leaving her kids sad and asking me to fix their mommy. I leave, and even in the town's shop I find a pig. Then the shopkeeper cries and explains that it's her husband turned into a pig. She even allows me to take the stuff from the storage room if I help her husband, but the door is locked, so she figures her husband must have lost the key in the woods. So I try to leave east for the woods, but a villager warns me about a monster and tells me I need the mayor's permission to be allowed through the gate. Just north, I find a house with a pipe inside, but just like the pipe to Twilight Town, it rejects me. Then on my way to the mayor, the bell rings again, and of course this time it cursed the mayor. However, the gate guy got pigified too, so now I'm free to pass. From there, I reach the Twilight Trail and head further east where a Hyper Goomba patrols. They buffed their attacks massively, so I rush to defeat defeat them, then jump on the Crazy Daisy 2 to win the fight. With that level up and the extra badge points I chose, I equipped the Mega Rush P badge that requires me to switch my partner to the front and make sure he gets defeated so that at the end of the battle he gets back to 1 HP for an attack boost. Unfortunately, I now reach a dead end with a collapsed tree blocking my way, but at least I can get a key from the other side using coops. I take the key back to the town shop to open the storage room where I find a jam and jelly, a booze sheet, a Defense Plus badge, and a mysterious black chest. Inside, I hear a familiar voice, but the chest promises that it's not at all like the other cursed chests I found. After promising me a nice new ability if I release the creature from inside, I agree to go find the key, which has to be somewhere near the town. So I head out again and destroy Goombas with my partner's Peril and Mega Rush P powered attacks, then realize I can push a rock, blocking the entrance to a shed, and find the black key inside. I immediately take the key to the shop and realize the owner is selling items again, then open the chest only to be tricked once more. Another curse zaps me, this time with the terrible consequence of gaining the ability to turn myself into a paper roll and even to roll around in this tubular shape. Using the Peril strategy and quick change swaps to save my near-death partner, I clear the Twilight Trail once more, then use my new handy ability to roll under the collapsed tree. Here I find another tree but can blow it away, using Flurry's skilled lips to reveal a pipe and enter the forest in the background. After Peril cheesing the Crazy Daisies, I navigate through the high grass and discover a hammer throw badge, then blow a big tree trunk to reveal its hole and enter inside. Now reaching even deeper into the dark background, I can lift a fake ground tile to jump into another hole. Pushing a rock in the background also moves the rock blocking my path, giving me access to yet another hole. Entering inside brings me to the other side of the rock, which leads me to the forest exit. Finally, I reach the creepy steeple, and because of its spooky atmosphere, Garo advises me to get the star fast. With the gate locked, I ground pound the steeple's well to make my way down and immediately get rid of a buzzy beetle that's lurking down there. Then I take a shine sprite and move to the next area where now the whole beetle family covers the ground. I defeat them one by one and even jump into a block for the tornado jump badge. Then I push the gate up a slope, but even after reaching the top, I still can't get through, so I return to the spring to get back up. Luckily, I can roll through a hole in the fence and reach the steeple entrance that way, which I use to enter a large spooky hall. A boo stands in my way and says his friends have all been taken, then vanishes. Near the entrance, I discover another hole in a wall that I can use to roll through, leading me to a furnished room with a shine sprite and chest with a cookbook and an ice smash badge. I roll back, then try to enter through a door, but the boo blocks it, telling me to not leave him alone. To proceed, I have to push a star statue, then jump down the hole underneath to reach the basement. Here, I use Flurry's blowing skills to get rid of a fake wall, then sneak behind to find a hidden chest with a flower saver badge. Next, I enter the adjacent corridor and find another chest there, which I open to immediately get jump scared by a swarm of boos. One of them stays behind to quiz me, asking how many boos came out in total. I guess 200, and the boo calls me a nerd before dropping an ultra shroom as a prize. Unfortunately, the left door is locked, but now I return to the lonely boo for him to ask if I'm going to be mean to him. Of course I answer no, but he jump scare inflates to make me promise, then asks all his boo friends to come out. Now that I'm surrounded by the boo tornado, they start latching onto me and lifting me up, then rudely throw me out of the steeple. To avoid that kind of treatment, I make sure to go fast this time and enter the previously blocked door, which takes me to a corridor with a swooper charging in on me. After taking care of the swoopers, I discover a red switch that I hit with my hammer, which shakes the ground, then turns the switch colorless. Unsure what happened, I take the other door back inside, then take the stairs up and start running from the boos to make it across, but only find a locked door. So instead, I take the door leading down where I find another red switch that I smack with my hammer. The ground shakes again, but this switch stays red, and after heading back inside, I realize it shifted the staircase a bit. But taking the staircase now just drops me right in the middle of the two balconies, so I hit the switch again to pull the staircase to the lower side and quickly run across to avoid the boos and grab the steeple key. After hitting the upper switch twice, I move the staircase back to the first position and now can unlock the door to reach a spiral staircase. At its end, I find a spring and jump to reach the bell tower and find a strange looking ghost with a party hat rocking in a chair. The ghost tells me he's busy thinking up new pranks, but jumps off his chair to admit he turned the villagers into pigs, so we get ready to fight. The unknown enemy bonks me with his head, but using power lift, I buff my attack and defense, then deal massive damage with Garo's ground pound. But then the enemy gets ready for a special attack and his eyes glow eerily, then he turns himself into a shadow clone of me. I make sure to give him another taste of the butt treatment until he admits defeat and falls to the ground. That fast victory rewards me with the red crystal star, so I leave behind the shadow clone and exit the bell tower. Except except for some reason the shadow clone stays behind, and suddenly after picking up my shadow self, I realize that this ghost stole my real body and partners. Now on my own, I make my way back through the steeple, but in the meantime, the three shadows arrive in Twilight Town. Beldam asks Vivian to hand her the super bomb, but Vivian doesn't have it and says she would never be trusted with something that important. To avoid getting punished, Vivian now has to find the super bomb while the other sisters leave. By now, I make it out of the steeple and back along Twilight Trail and have to face a group of crazy daisies alone. They just keep singing, stacking turn after turn of sleep on me, but luckily they run away before they actually finish me off. Finally, I roll all the way back, and just before I reach the town, the imposter Mario suddenly jumps through the sheet of background paper and lands right in front of me. He really seems to enjoy being able to jump like this and enjoys my popularity too, then explains that he has the power to change his body into any shape he wants, as long as he has their name and body. Now he plans to erase me for good, but gives me a chance to get my body back if I manage to guess his name. I randomly guess Ghost, which of course is wrong, so now he fights me. I first try my Ice Smash, but it deals no damage, and jumping doesn't work either. All I can do is run and escape to Twilight Town where nobody recognizes me or helps me in my shadow form. Eventually I run into Vivian and see her cry, but before I talk to her, I hear about the body thief and find him with all my friends in the mayor's house. The mayor praises him for saving the town and treats them all to a feast, and none of them see through the trick, although they realize that something about the way fake Mario acts is different. So Vivian is really the only one I can talk to and learn that she's sad because she's looking for something important. After smashing all the bushes, I eventually find the super bomb and return it to Vivian, but then she realizes it's broken, probably from when Beldam dropped it. I try to help, but she says it's alright and asks me for my name. I explain that my name was stolen, and at that point, Vivian sets her mind to helping me out, not wanting to stay with her sisters who bully her. She seals the deal with a kiss, then joins me as a partner, and I learned that I can use her abilities to hide in the shadows and shadow fist enemies. Using her ability to hide, I listen to the local crows who turn out to be oddly philosophical, but learn that the body thief hides his real name locked under creepy steeple, and saying his name is his only weakness. So I try to go back, but suddenly the fake Mario jumps through the canvas again and seems kind of familiar to Vivian. He gives me another chance to guess his name, but I choose to escape and leave him disappointed. Together with Vivian, I make my way through Twilight Trail and jump down the steeple's well, then push the gate up the slope. But this time I can use Vivian to hide and get behind the gate as it slides back down. After rolling through a narrow gap in the walls, I ground pound to break some boards and land all the way down in creepy steeples sub-level 2. From here, I walk left behind some windows and roll through a gap to land in a room with some chests and a bird. I loot a softener and a Power Plus badge that I equip right away, then spy on the bird by hiding in the shadows. By talking to himself, he reveals that he's guarding a missing letter and even mentions the body thief's full name, Dupless. After I re-emerge from the shadows, the bird squawks nervously, then pretends to just be a regular unsuspicious parrot. Behind him, I open a chest that contains the letter P, which makes it possible to spell Dupless's name. Then I take a steeple key from another chest and leave the room, where Vivian gets really motivated to teach Dupless a lesson. I smash a yellow block that hides a pipe underneath, then jump down to fast travel back to Twilight Town in an instant. Finally, I confront the body thief again, who lets me guess one more time, but this time I can use the missing letter to spell his full name, Dupless. Completely shocked and leaving his head spinning to hear his name spelled out, he runs off with his arms flailing. Vivian suggests to get him, so I quickly chase after him all the way back to the steeple where he hides with my body in his bell tower room. But this time he manipulates my friends to defend himself against me and even spills my name Mario. That way Vivian learns I'm Mario, which I admit, so she gets really upset for helping her enemy and disappears. Now I have to face him in battle alone against my powerful partners. Of course I don't want to hurt my friend, so I attack Dupless directly, who realizes that he can now take damage because I correctly guessed his name. Goombella actually worries about the fake Mario when luckily Vivian decides to return to my side and abandon the evil ways of her mean sisters. I jump and fist the imposter, leaving a nasty burn, then activate my spin jump to finish him off. Now he drops the crystal star along with his disguise, leaving my partner shocked as they realize they got tricked. Finally, I lose my shadow form, then Dupless angrily jumps off his tower. Of course, my partners apologize, but are also surprised that I teamed up with one of our enemies, but we managed to sort it out, and now Vivian really joins the party, with the red crystal star finally ending up in my hands. Meanwhile, the remaining two shadow sisters wonder where Vivian might be as the panicking Dupless runs by. Somewhere else, Sir Grotus learns from an exonaut that the 1,000-year door's seal has been weakened and seems confident that the ancient power of darkness will soon be in their hands before ordering my elimination. Now alone, he dreams of a world all all for himself and about himself. Then we see Peach, who once again gets called in by Tech. The conflicted Tech tries to figure out his priorities, carrying out orders or protecting Peach before deciding to entertain me with the quiz. But soon I realize that the random quiz is just cleverly disguised information, because just by eliminating silly answers, I learned that the legendary treasure behind the 1,000-year door is a 1,000-year-old demon soul that Grotus wants to bring back to life. And in order to seal the demon again, the crystal stars are needed. Now Tech lets me use the communicator, and of course I see right through his sneaky attempts to help me out. After sending all the information, I thank Tech and leave the room. Bowser, on the other hand, only learns about the secrets in Glitzville now, and Cammy Koopa tries to buy blimp tickets for the Koopa King and herself. But after seeing the deluded old hag, the Cheep Cheep just runs in fear while Bowser already takes off in his clown cart, leaving poor Cammy behind. It all goes well until suddenly the clown cart malfunctions and drops Bowser right into the ocean. So now I have to play as Bowser and enlarge my already thick size with meat. After devouring more meat, I get powerful enough to just walk through the blocks to then step onto a spring to make it out of the ocean. After simply smashing the goal pole, I reach the course's end and reach Rogueport. Scaring the locals with my presence, I watch Cammy arrive with a bunch of Glitzville merch. I disguise my little accident as a swimming trip while Cammy excitedly tells me about the fights and delicious hot dogs. Outraged, I roast the old hag, then command her to get me some info on Peach and the Crystal Stars. Back as Mario, I finally get recognized as the true savior of Twilight Town and admit that my feelings got hurt a little, which leaves the mayor in an awkward position. He thanks me anyways, then it's time to finally return to Rogueport, where immediately my phone vibrates and an email from Peach arrives. She tells me all about the demon and how the Crystal Stars can be used both to free and seal the demon, so I have to find them quickly. Back in Rogueport, I visit Zesty, who's looking for a book that can turn anyone into a master chef, so she asks me to help her find it. After ranking up Vivian at Merlin's place to teach her Fiery Jinx, I accept Zesty's trouble called seeking legendary cookbook. Luckily, I already found the cookbook in Creepy Steeple, so I head right back to her to hand it over. Now she can combine 2 ingredients for even more powerful dishes, which she tries out right away by giving me a honey mushroom. Next, I accept the trouble elusive badge, and the customer turns out to be none other than Miss Mouse, who immediately gets flirty with me again. She explains that she's looking for an elusive badge in Hooktail's lair, and all she knows is that in order to get it, one has to use the wind. So I immediately travel to Hooktail Castle and ride the green block all the way to the top. With the paper plane power, I reach a ledge, then climb a staircase to the 4th floor before ascending the spiral stairs to reach the top of the tower. Now using Flurry's blow ability, I reveal a chest that contains the elusive badge. On my way back to Rogueport, I enter the sewer spike trap room and now can use Vivian to avoid getting my butt impaled by the spikes. This way I make it to the end and get the spike shield badge, which lets me jump on spiky enemies without taking damage. Finally back on the surface, I give the elusive badge to Miss Mouse, who now admits that all of this was just a test of my skills. Now realizing that I'm worthy, she decides to travel with me, then gives me an attack FXB badge to make me sound mousy before officially joining the party. Her abilities are sniffing the area to find hidden objects, a love slap in battle, along with Kiss Thief, which can steal items from enemies. I jump off the roof and sniff the area to immediately discover a hidden star piece that I missed all this time. Now it's time to return to the 1,000-year door to deliver the red star. This unlocks some kind of island location on the map, so I return to the Goomba professor, who's shocked to learn about the ancient demon before 4th wall breaking to make sure that everyone in front of the screen is ready to hear his explanations. It turns out that the 7 crystal stars were actually created by that demon to control the world, but the legendary heroes destroyed the demon's body while its soul still remains sealed within the Palace of Shadows behind the 1,000-year door. Since the crystal stars can't distinguish between good and evil, they can be used for either depending on the user. But we also learned that the 1,000-year door is weakening since 1,000 years have passed, so either way, something must be done. Luckily, the professor learns from the map that the next star must be located in Keelhaw Key, a place surrounded by unsavory rumors, like vengeful spirits and evil curses, so he suggests asking the locals near the harbor to learn more. But on the way to the harbor, I receive a message from Prince Mush, who challenges me to a special exhibition match just for us two. So I immediately make my way to the fast travel hub, where now the pipe to Twilight Town gets unlocked, then I travel to Glitzville. Since my records got lost, I have to start again in the lower ranked locker room and select the exhibition match to face Prince Mush in the arena. I immediately realize that Mush is extremely hard because he switches his fighting style from side to side to dodge jump attacks and up and down to dodge hammer attacks. On top of that, he will power himself up to then unleash a deadly combo, but by super guarding to break his stance, then using the peril strategy to deal massive damage with Garo's mighty butt, I manage to end the struggle and defeat him. Jolene announces my victory while the entire arena cheers, then Mush wants to talk to me. I leave the locker room to see him, and he's impressed enough to hand me his useless belt. Next, I return to Rogueport, and by the harbor, I ask the locals about Keelhaw Key until a toad mentions a nearby ship which belongs to Flavio, the merchant trader. Apparently, he spends a lot of time at the inn, so I walk back to the town square and indeed find him at a table singing. Then he explains that the red stone next to him is the skull stone, which he loves so much that he wants to kiss it. Still, he seems to be missing something but needs help figuring out what it is. Of course, I suggest romance and he agrees, although he thinks I said romaz, believing I'm talking about tomatoes. But this reminds him of the treasure of Cortez, the Pirate King, and figures a good treasure hunt could give him all that he needs. It turns out to be at Keelhaw Key, so I show him my treasure map and he realizes it too points to Keelhaw Key. He figures I want to steal his treasure, so I explain that all I need is the crystal star, which must be in the possession of Cortez. Thinking it must be fate, he agrees to leave the crystal star to me if he gets to take the rest of the treasure, then immediately wants to ready his ship and leave. I follow him to his ship where his crew is already assembled, except I realize right away that one of them is extremely sus. After whacking the imposter with my hammer, I pretend not to realize what's going on so we can move on. However, Flavio explains that his navigator ran off, so he needs a replacement before we can set sail. The Bob-omb patch suggests getting a legendary sailor in Rogueport to join called Admiral Bobbery, and as captain, it's now my job to find him. So I start searching Rogueport and talking to the locals, and luckily the professor seems to know him since he lives right next to him. But the door is locked. By climbing up some boxes, I can flutter jump onto the roof, then paper roll down the chimney to break in and surprise the Bob-omb inside. The bearded Bob-omb claims to have no idea who Bobbery is, and although Garo calls his bluff, he still declines, not wanting to set sail ever again and sending me away. Outside, Garo suggests asking around what his deal is, so I return to the professor who thinks Podley might know something. At the end, Podley tells me the story how Bobbery lost his wife Scarlet while he was out at sea, then blamed himself for not being there. But I want him to come with us anyway, so Podley gives me an old letter from Scarlet to Bobbery that she wrote on her deathbed. I immediately leave to deliver the letter to Bobbery, who recognizes the handwriting right away and literally says he should not blame himself. After a moment alone, he returns with newfound enthusiasm to sail to Keelhaw Key, then leaves for the harbor. After following him there, I talk to Flavio, who acknowledges that the crew and preparations are complete, so I agree to set sail, and our journey to Keelhaw Key begins despite the obvious imposter on board. We travel for days and nights, enduring Flavio's singing until Flavio spots that the island is in sight. But suddenly the ship stops, which puzzles the crew, so one of the crewmates climbs the ship's mast to figure out what's going on. Then out of nowhere, a will-o-wisp appears behind him, clouds darken the sky, and it spooks the poor Bob-omb and chases him back down. Before he can explain what's going on, the mysterious flames surround the entire ship, causing the crew to panic and take them for ghosts, then even more of them appear. A big one shows up in front of Flavio, who asks him if they're really the savage Pirate King, then turns blue from fear and cries for help. A knock to our ship causes Bobbery to fly off, then shakes off the imposter and a toad until Flavio declares to abandon the ship as the spooky ghosts sink it. Luckily, the sea washes us ashore, but 3 crew members, including Bobbery, disappeared. Days have passed on the island, and a Bob-omb crewmate calls me to check out a hut they've set up for me. On my way, I discover a strange creature on the island who calls himself Waka, happily announcing that nothing bad could happen to him today. Clearly, he didn't expect my hammer, causing a ball to drop from his head, the Whack-a-Bump, which turns out to be an amazing healing item. Next, I check out the camp of the stranded crew, but find Patch and Flavio in a fight, who agree to solve the argument with hammers at dawn. But after seeing more of the ghosts, they quickly run back, hiding behind me, and as the ghosts intrude, they order me to take care of them, so I fight. Smacking them with my hammer lets me damage them without burning my butt, so I rinse and repeat and numb them with Garo until they're defeated. After that victory, Flavio figures I should explore the rest of the island, but I decline. Unfortunately, the entire crew votes for this plan, so I get the task and head out into the unknown. I enter some kind of tropical jungle, but it's infested with green fuzzies and flower fuzzies that I take care of to proceed. I follow the path until I reach the next area, but a big piranha plant takes a bite out of me, so I have Garo numb them back, then exterminate the remaining one with my hammer. By flutter jumping on Garo's back, I flutter across some platforms and make my way up, reaching a higher part of the forest, then smack a blue switch to unlock a spring for a shortcut. From up here, I reach the next area containing a wooden bridge where I hear someone's voice. Then realize it's the missing crewmates, including Admiral Bobbery and the imposter, surrounded by embers. Bobbery orders the others to flee while he deals with the embers and just takes their pummeling while they they save themselves. The imposter immediately picks me up and walks me out of there, but out of nowhere breaks the fourth wall to tell you that you should not reveal to Mario who he really is. Once I'm alone again, I head back and check the area under the bridge where I find a pipe leading me to an island in the background on which I shake a coconut down from a tree. Next, I return to cross the bridge, reaching a jungle area until I find the embers surrounding a tree. I don't hesitate to take them on and hammer and egg them, then go for the victorious jump. After smacking the tree, Bobbery falls down and gets really dramatic about his injuries while making his last request, his bottle of Chicola-Cola, which should be somewhere in the cracked ship's depths. So I keep exploring, but soon reach a dead end with a skull-shaped rock and a suspicious-looking hole in it. To search for the Coke, I backtrack all the way to camp, where Flavio concludes that the crew is assembled with only Bobbery missing. He changes my mission to saving Bobbery and admits he found the missing Coke bottle, but doesn't want to hand it over unless I replace it with some other food. So I give him the coconut I found to receive the Chicola-Cola, then immediately return it to the Admiral. After slurping the delicious beverage, he gets ready to say goodbye, but after a good smack of my hammer, he wakes up again, still thinking he's dead. Finally, he remembers why we're here and even suggests to join my party, giving me the ability to blow up cracked rocks and activate switches with a boom that I can't reach otherwise. With Bobbery back on board, I return to camp, much to Flavio's relief, where Flavio now discusses a plan to leave the island and find a way back home. Concerning the Crystal Star, Bobbery mentions that suspicious skull rock in the jungle, and since the treasure might be there also, Flavio now joins the group. So with everyone on board, I head out to return to that rock, which Flavio now inspects. Puzzled by the strange rock, he sings his songs again, and now I realize it contains a hint to solve the puzzle. After inspecting the rock with Garo, we figure that we need Flavio's skull gem, then put it in the hole, which spins the pillars in front of it. Following Flavio's song, I ground pound the red stash rock 3 times, then hammer the blue one 3 times, which makes the statue's eyes glow, opening a hatch with a bomb symbol. I immediately launch Bobbery inside, who blows up the wall, revealing the entrance. Flavio gets his skull gem back and decides to return, but of course he wants us to let him know when we find the treasure. Entering the grotto, I hear a spooky voice, but bravely jump down to reach into the depths. Lava bubbles are in my way, but I stomp them quickly to reach across the partially flooded cave. Some kind of trap launches spikes to poke my butt, but using Vivian's hide ability, I can avoid them just fine and reach the next area. Here, I walk over a bridge, which seems harmless at first until I spot cannons in my way shooting bullet bills at me. By jumping and fighting the bullet bills, I can make my way across, then even have to defeat the cannons, which keep attacking by spawning bullet bills, but after facing Garo's butt, I only have to wait for the bullet bills to launch themselves and win the fight. Next, I cross a part of the cave with a waterfall and a chain connected to some kind of gate where a massive pink bob-omb lurks. I approach the bulky bob-omb and luckily manage to destroy them before they explode. Moving on, I jump some ledges to reach a higher part of the cave where I find a blue switch that's out of my reach, but luckily Bobbery can activate it just fine with a boom. This opens a gate, but when I try to pass through, I hear the spooky voice again, this time even telling me to turn back. But I keep going bravely and reach another skull-like rock which spouts the water that's flooding the cave. The next room seems to be some kind of storage for barrels, and by jumping onto a moving raft, I can activate a red switch with coops that triggers a platform, allowing me to flutter onto the barrels and collect a grotto key. This key opens a lock in the previous room, letting me straight into a bunch of parabuzzies that I wipe out before moving on. In the adjacent flooded area, I have to navigate along a narrow path while avoiding spike impalement by using the paper roll ability, then jump over some floating barrels to reach a bridge with lava bubbles on it. At the end of this bridge, I spot what seems to be a dead end, but using Admiral Bobbery, I can easily blow up the cracked rock and enter the hole. Even more and more bill blasters in my way can't stop me until I reach some planks leading over the water and into an ominous shipwreck. Inside, I find a big black treasure chest and a familiar voice wants me to set them free, but this time I call out their tricks, so they just ask me to play along. To find the key, all I have to do is defeat a nearby ghost and act totally surprised as the cursed face pops out and makes me suffer with the ability to fold into a paper boat. I immediately return to one of the boat platforms nearby and now can use the origami boat shape to float and cross water. By walking all the way back into the room with the skull spouting water, I can swim down the big waterfall and back near the cave entrance, reaching another shipwreck with the gate handle hidden on it. This fits perfectly into the nearby contraption and lets me reel in the chain to open the gate, so now I can swim to the barrel room and from there to the room with lots of waves. To make it across here, I have to avoid the waves or risk getting sunk, which sends me back all the way to the beginning of the room. Eventually I make it across, reaching a nearly completely flooded part of the cave. At some point, I hear voices from nearby and I'm surprised to find a bunch of toads holding onto what's left of a wrecked ship. They call me over to save them, but then quickly realize that it's just a paper boat and find it useless. For now, I land on a boat platform, then take a pipe to the scenes background, walk all the way to the left and take another pipe that leads me to a paper plane platform. Here, I fold into a plane, allowing me to land on one of the smaller platforms with a pipe on it. The pipe leads me to a blue switch which makes some barrels appear, and after activating both, enough barrels appear for the stranded sailors to leave the wreck. Next, I fly all the way to the shipwreck, and after having my butt munched on by hungry fish, use the same path over the barrels where the toads now realize I saved them. Apparently they were looking for treasure when ghosts attacked them, and to my surprise, Francesca and Frankie are here too. They warn me that Cortez must be nearby and also that he was the one who trapped them on that raft. In the next room, suddenly I hear a "Bo-whoa" when the hecking imposter arrives to encourage me to get that crystal star from Cortez, and despite letting the name of his boss Grotus slip, keeps up his sus act. So I approach the nearby pirate ship and head inside, where I once again hear the spooky voice now inviting me in. Inside, the crystal star is right in front of me, but the voice now reveals its shape and threatens to polish his bone with my mustache before attacking. After pulling several weapons, he tries to stab me, so I have Miss Mouth use her tease to make him dizzy, then crush him with Garo's Butt of Doom. After dropping all his weapons, he reveals a green orb inside himself, and by crushing his torso, leaves only a skull and floating weapons. Ignoring the weapons, I have Garo pound his skull, defeating Cortez and easily winning me the fight. After crying over his treasure, Cortez shrinks, then returns to his old size, boasting that he can't be defeated because he's already dead. Surprised to learn that I'm really only after the crystal star, he doesn't mind if I just take it, earning me the blue crystal star before getting kicked off the ship. Next, I return to the toads, then one of them points out a crack that appeared in the wall during the fight. Using Bobbery, I blow up that wall, opening a hole for everyone to go inside, which leads us out of the cave. After reuniting with the toads, to my surprise, Flavio and Patch catch up to me, shocked that I left the treasure after making it all the way to Cortez. Then suddenly, cannonballs are being fired at us, and in the distance, a ship appears belonging to the imposter, who finally reveals that he's Lord Crump. Proud of himself for fooling us, he demands the crystal star and keeps shooting at us, leaving us no choice but to prepare our escape, until Flavio has the idea to take the ship of Cortez. Thinking it's better than enduring Crump's balls, I take Flavio to the pirate ship, where he musters up the courage to ask Cortez to lend his ship. However, Cortez explains that this ship can't sail without the skull gem, which Flavio now pulls out of his pocket. Proposing to give him the gem in exchange for a ride on his ship, Flavio convinces the pirate to take the deal and throws him the gem, which allows Cortez to finally set sail again. Everyone is already assembled on deck, then Cortez summons his ghost crew to get the ship ready, breaking through the side of the island and immediately returning fire before chasing the enemy ship and ramming it in a risky maneuver. Determined to sink our ship, Crump sends his X-Nauts, and a chaotic battle between the two crews unfolds. In the middle of the chaos, I jump onto Crump's ship and start a fight where he's cowardly hiding behind a pile of X-Nauts, but then I just jump over them to attack him directly. So next, he calls a whole army of X-Nauts all hanging from the ceiling, which drop down a Goombella to attack. So I order Garo to mercilessly slam Crump with his butt, causing Crump to walk off screen to cheat and heal, then return with his X-Naut army. After using a spin jump to flatten the minions, I jump Crump next to win the fight and get his ship to retreat. Back in his hideout, Sir Grotus is displeased to hear about Crump's failure, giving him only one last chance to make up for it. Next, he sends a messenger to tell the three shadows to attack me again, and that failure is not an option this time. Now I get to take over as Peach, and Tech calls me in again, asking me to do a dangerous task and get a data disk for him to enable him to access some restricted information. To get this done, Tech guides me to an elevator, after which I enter some kind of laboratory where I mix sus potions, red, blue, yellow, and green in a peculiar order, which then need to be heated for exactly 30 seconds to mix an invisibility potion. But I have to undress to completely hide. Next, I sneak into Grotus's private room, find the disc in the shelf, then insert the disc into the computer so Tech can access it. With that, I return to the potion room and drink the green potion to become visible again. Then I return to Tech, who doesn't want to tell me anything about the restricted information before analyzing all the data, so all I do for now is send a message before returning to my room. Meanwhile, Bowser arrives in Twilight Town, where he finds a sulking Crump who's looking for Beldam's lost Super Bob-omb. Eventually he finds it, but as Cammy asks him about the crystal stars, Bowser and Crump are immediately at each other's throats. So Crump summons his X-Nauts, then Bowser summons his own troops, causing Crump to throw the Super Bob-omb, not realizing it's already broken and not going off. Amused by this, Bowser shows him how it's done and spews fire at the bomb, causing a massive explosion. The scene shifts back to Keelhaw Key, where Cortez applauds my battle prowess, offering to let me use his ship, the Black Skull, anytime. Finally, everyone can assemble on the ship except Francesca and Frankie, Patch and some of the toads, who decide to stay behind, so the rest of us leave the island and sail across the ocean to return to Rogueport. As the crew says their goodbyes and Flavio leaves as well, I also leave the port, but suddenly receive a message from Peach speech telling me about tech and how she managed to get some data thanks to him. For now, she doesn't have more to say to me, so I return to the Thousand-Year Door and deliver the blue crystal star. With this southeast portion and orange star on the map now revealed, I return to the professor telling me about Poshley Heights, the new location, and Poshley Sanctum, a shrine dedicated to the stars. He figures the star must hide in this shrine, and to get there, all I have to do this time is ride the luxurious train, the Excess Express. Since the tickets must be expensive, the professor suggests asking Don Pianta for help. Upon leaving the professor, I see Merlin standing in front of his house, puzzling me with a strange message that seems to urge me towards Hooktail Castle. So I head to the fast travel hub, unlocking the pipe to Keelhawk Key, but instead I return to Petalburg and make my way through Hooktail Castle. I now can blow up a cracked wall thanks to Bobbery and hit a blue switch to tear a sheet of paper apart, revealing a hidden chest that contains an up arrow. I return to Rogueport with the up arrow and give it to Merlin, but it does nothing other than reminding him to check his attic where he keeps his red orb. Thanks to the red orb, he now has the power to upgrade my companions even further, so I immediately empower Garo to learn Stampede and Bobbery to learn Bombast. With their strongest abilities unlocked, I try Garo's ultimate right away and run over some unsuspecting Goombas with an army of Yoshis, then try Bobbery's for a big explosion. As a first order of business, I pay Don Pianta a visit, who fell sick from loneliness after his daughter Francesca and Frankie left. After I ask his men for tickets to the Excess Express, the boss just keeps sulking, then Garo explains that his daughter is at Keelhawk Key, so they ask me to bring Francesca back. I agree, then fast travel back to the island and head to the jungle to find the couple there and explain the situation. On top of her dad being sick, she also lost Frankie's wedding ring, so of course I agree to help them find it. After searching the jungle for a while, I manage to find the ring behind some plants, then return it so we can leave. With the pair on board, I take them to Rogueport and immediately follow them to Don Pianta. Despite his daughter calling out to him, it takes a moment for her dad to snap out of this state, then finally gets out of bed and promises to stop being selfish and let them have their happiness before deciding to retire, making Frankie his successor. And as a reward for my efforts, I even receive a train ticket for the Excess Express. Leaving things to Frankie, Don Pianta heads out, so I say goodbye and discuss the exciting news with Garo. Then suddenly, the sneaky hag Beldam overhears the information about the next star's location and makes a plan to simply reach Poshley Heights before me and snatch the star away from us. With that, she disappears, so I rush to the train station, show my ticket, and board the fancy train. After departing for my next adventure, Garo figures it's a pretty nice cabin to spend the 3-day trip, but then finds a note on the floor that threatens me to get off the train or sticky yummy doom awaits. I leave to investigate, first heading left where I reach the dining area and talk to the cheap chef Shimmy, who says he's preparing a mouth-watering lunch. Next, I keep going left until I reach more cabins, and the first one seems occupied by some kind of penguin detective who's on his way back home. In the next cabin, I find a mouse on a business trip, then the family of Bob-ombs heading to Poshley Heights to get a birthday gift for their son. I also check the cabins to the right, discovering a very chonky toad who says his dream came true when he got a ticket for this train. Even further right, I find the cabin of a fancy toad lady, and next to it the absurdly famous movie star Zip Toad. From there, I reach the engineer's car where I show my sticky yummy threat note, but since he can't leave the controls, he asks me to take it to the conductor. So I make my way toward the other end of the train where I find the conductor and show him the note too, but all he does is ask me to be careful and return to my cabin. On my way, I suddenly find some passengers assembled near the kitchen for lunch, but as Ziptoe tells me someone stole the whole pot of lunch. With his detective skills, the penguin concludes that the situation smells like a mystery affecting all of us. Now he introduces himself as Pennington, claiming he has a nose for these things, impressing the whole group until he reaches the solution, accusing the gluttonous server toad of the crime. She immediately denies it all, so Pennington retracts his wild guess, but as Ziptoe tries to leave for his cabin, the penguin makes another random accusation towards him, which makes the server even more furious. Finally, I join the investigation and discover a trail of spilled food on the floor that I track all the way to room 3, leading to the chonky toad. He claims he has no idea where the food went, but when checking his stuff, I find the galley pot under some magazines. The toad apologizes and admits everything, then Pennington arrives to take the whole confession and even agrees to discuss the matter of the mysterious threat I received with me in private. After returning the pot to the chef, I enter Pennington's cabin, who now takes me as his new assistant, then uses his improbably large brain to deduce my identity, Luigi. Shocked about this horribly wrong deduction, I accept to play along and follow his questionable lead to investigate the family of Bob-ombs as culprits behind the threatening note. So I head to their cabin, but all they do is discuss their son's birthday gift, and since I'm a detective now, their son asks if I can guess what he really wants for his birthday and promises something in return. His only hint is that the first letters are AU, so I guess he wants an autograph and visits Ziptoad for that. Unfortunately, he says his autographs are out of my budget, so I leave empty-handed. On the way back, I find the server in need of help and says she lost her important shell earrings, then asks me to go look for them. Next, I visit the fancy lady who lost something precious too, a gold ring, and also wants it found. With no further clue on found the lost items, I asked the conductor for help, who overheard the Bob-omb family's whole conversation and learned that the son wants to be a train engineer one day. Now knowing who the boy admires, I asked the engineer for his autograph, then deliver it to almost blow him up with excitement. After receiving a shine sprite as a reward, night falls and I talk to the conductor again, who now remembers something sus because one blanket was missing as he was handing them out to the passengers, and figures one passenger came on board without a ticket. As the stowaway might be my suspect, he suggests finding that passenger and also finding the missing blanket. I accept, then report the incident to Pennington, who concludes that this rules out the Bob-omb family since exactly one blanket is missing. I keep searching the train and talking to the passengers, then find the chonky toad shaking, who then explains that he heard some scary noises in the cabin next to him, but upon investigating found the cabin empty. He begs me to check the cabin for him, so I go there and hide with Vivian until suddenly some kind of ghost appears and says he's cursed to haunt this place. Luckily, he can explain the blanket incident, saying the conductor left one here but has no clue about the threatening note. However, he doesn't want to hand out the extra blanket just like that and asks me to do something for him instead, so I agree, and luckily all he wants is my life. After admitting it was just a joke, he asks me to get his diary from the baggage car instead, since he'd be embarrassed if anyone would find and read it. So I make my way back to the conductor, explain the ghost situation to him, and enter the baggage car to slip between two crates where I find the diary. I immediately return it to the ghost by placing it in the drawer for him and get the blanket in return. Since I resisted the temptation to read the diary, the ghost can now leave this world peacefully, but then randomly changes his mind and decides to stay a while longer. With the blanket, I go back to the conductor and give it to him, who is happy he can sleep comfortably tonight and even gives me a super mushroom as a reward. After updating Pennington, I return to my cabin and sleep through the night. The next day, I find the business mouse in Pennington's cabin and learn that a new case has arisen. The mouse explains that he woke up this morning and his briefcase was gone, containing vital business papers and a new product called nitro honey syrup that, when mixed with calcium from a seashell and gold, turns into a gooey explosive. After realizing the waitress lost her shell earrings and the lady Toodles lost her gold ring, Pennington concludes that the thief has all these ingredients for the goo blast. So I search the train for more clues, and upon entering Zip Toad's room, I suspiciously find the vital business papers on the ground. Of course, I return them to the mouse and Pennington right away, who indeed identifies them as his missing company's contract papers. Pennington mentions that Zip Toad has been missing today and now tasks me to find him. So I search and search, trying to locate the missing actor, and only after I hide in his room, he comes out of hiding from behind the sofa. Once I spook him by coming out of the shadows, he starts to jump around so I can't catch him, but a good smack quickly calms him down. Thanks to Pennington, I now learned that this Toad was only pretending to be Zip Toad and also wrote that threatening note, and now we can take all the stolen items back: the briefcase, gold ring, and shell earrings. I immediately return the briefcase to the mouse, then a bing bong announces that we are due to make our stop at Riverside Station. Now that the train comes to a stop, we leave with the criminal Toad tied up, who suddenly reveals that he was working for Beldum. With a poof, he turns himself back, shockingly revealing that he was dupeless all along, and runs away, leaving the rest to Beldum. Before I explore the station, I return the gold ring to receive 30 coins and the shell earrings, earning me a star piece. Finally, I head out and start looking around, but immediately find a new problem as the conductor explains that someone lifted the drawbridge and the train can't depart like this. Although this was clearly Beldum's work, the conductor asks me to find and throw that switch and hands me the entrance key so I can investigate the station. After entering the main building, I realize it's pretty much abandoned and the elevator is locked and its keyhole empty. Upon leaving to the right, I find myself in a room with some gates and a green padlock door, but luckily I can paper roll under one of the gates and activate a blue switch to unfold a staircase. From there, I reach a higher floor and enter the machinery room where some rough puffs are lurking, but I fight to take care of them and quickly clear the room. To get across and reach the next platform, I have to jump over rotating wheels, then roll under some kind of turbine. After jumping over more rotating pieces, I can see the green key on another platform, and with good timing and Koops' ability, I'm able to grab it, then take it all the way back downstairs to open the door. Now I'm outside again, but some poison pokies block the path, and I have to defeat them first in order to proceed. Next, I take some stairs leading down before walking back left until I reach a suspicious dead end, except all I need to use is blow hard with Flurry to remove the posters that block a hidden entrance. Back inside, I defeat a bunch of spiky parabuzzies, then discover a narrow gap in the wall. By going into paper roll mode, I can slip through and roll down, ending up in some kind of maze, and with the exit I choose, I fall into a trash can with a super mushroom inside. From here, I can sneak into the station's office where a locked gate prevents me from reaching the orange key. So I leave to the left, entering the records room where I find a bunch of Goombas and boxes, and defeating them reveals the numbers 1, 10, and 3. So I hit the boxes 1, 10, and 3 times, which folds the paper wall into a staircase that I can use to reach a doorway, leading me into a storage room with a big chest. Excited to find that treasure, I'm I'm rewarded with the Ultra Boots, increasing the damage of my jump attack while also unlocking a new jump technique, the Spring Jump, to reach much higher than before. I immediately use the new technique to reach the pipes and make my way over the high boxes, then slip through the grate to fall through the ceiling and land back in the office, where now I can jump high enough to grab the elevator key. So I walk all the way back to the entrance, unlock the elevator door, and write it down, where Garo and I immediately notice an army of little monsters. I start pounding and pounding, smashing them away from whatever they're protecting, then manage to reveal the switch that I flip to fold up the stairs and lower the drawbridge. Next, I return to the tracks where the conductor thanks me, then I head inside just in time for the train to depart. An announcement lets me know that our next stop will be Poshley Heights. After a late night stroll and talking to all the passengers, I call it a day and go to sleep. The next morning, I go visit the engineer when suddenly I see one of the little monsters sticking to the windshield. Only moments later, the whole army appears, completely engulfing the windows and blocking them. Garo figures it must be the creatures from yesterday and must have stowed away. The conductor completely panics because he wants to meet the arrival time and just keeps driving blindly. At least he asks me to check on the passengers, so I rush through the train but find it completely deserted. Finally, I make it to the other end and enter the luggage cart, now realizing that the monsters have managed to enter the train. I can make out passengers engulfed by smorg though, so I start smacking them to free the toads, who figure they got kidnapped by those things in their sleep. Determined to rescue the rest of the passengers, I jump up to grab a pipe and climb to an exit that now leads me on top of the train. It's completely covered in smorg though, so I have to smack my way through until I manage to reach the front cart, where the smorg now assemble into a huge tentacle beast with the passengers attached. Crying out for help, the passengers are completely immobilized as the smorg attack. After getting tentacle smacked, I decide to use Garo's Stampede and have the smorg crushed by an army of Yoshis. This exposes the red smorg rod that I jump onto for massive butt damage, quickly ending the fight in a massive smorg detonation. Luckily, only the smorg fall off the train while the passengers are left behind, and inside the train, I can make sure that everyone's safe. And with that, the train finally arrives in Poshley Heights, where I disembark, then enter a path along luxurious houses. Here I find the other passengers and make sure they're all okay, then head right, reaching a nice plaza with a hotel. Just a bit further, I discover a fancy temple-like building, and by asking around, I learn that it's Poshley Sanctum. Unfortunately, the entrance is locked, and my only clue is a note saying "gone traveling" left by the Sanctum manager. Wondering with Garo what to do about that, we suddenly get interrupted by Pennington asking what we're doing on his doorstep and realize he is the Sanctum manager. Luckily, he opens the door for us and we head inside, and indeed, we find the orange crystal star there, but the remaining shadows and Dupless are already inside, snatching the star away from me. Just like that, the shadows disappear, leaving Dupless behind, who just jumps out of an already broken window. After explaining the situation to Pennington, he tells me not to worry, as this stone was merely a red herring, a fake. But to find the real one, even though he claims to know where it is, he wishes to rely on my ability as junior detective, so I start looking around. First, I notice the painting in the background showing the Sanctum's entrance, which looks surprisingly real. Then I jump up from a star platform to reach a bar, then climb to search both sides before jumping to the next bar. This way, I slowly make my way to the top, where I find a blue switch that I smack to make a pipe appear. This takes me to the painting, and as it turns out, I can enter the painted sanctum to reach a much gloomier version of the place with patrolling dark boos in my way. After fighting the boos, I can make my way to the pedestal and take the real garnet star, then return to Pennington, who acts very surprised for someone who claims to have known the star's real location all along. After I decide to return to Rogueport, the scene switches back to Grotus, who is enraged about the fact that his minions fell for a fake star. But then his ex-naut whispers something in his ear, something that makes Grotus yell treason. Meanwhile, Peach is already awaiting Tech to call her, then finally the door opens up, so now I can play as Peach to walk to his room. Surprisingly, Tech made a conclusion whether he should follow his orders or help me, then tells me to escape as fast as possible. He now analyzed all the data, learning about Grotus's plans, but the scene cuts to black as Peach learns shocking new information. Without hearing what those shocking plans were, I'm at least told that Peach is being held on the moon. And to escape, I have to follow Tech's instructions, even if it might get him in trouble. But first, I send a message to Mario. Then suddenly I get caught in the act as Grotus and the X-Nauts barge in, calling out Tech's treason. Now he makes the evil plan to delete all of Tech's programs and data, calling his empathy a malfunction. So the X-Nauts push the red buttons, causing Tech to go all glitchy, but in his last moments, he confirms that my mail got sent and even announces his feelings for me as he fades out. I'm shocked to see that Tech is fully deleted, and Grotus hints on a big role for me to play in his plan as the scene shifts now to Bowser. The Koopa King is all sulky in Rogueport as Cammy calls out for his massiveness and reports that their minions found a mysterious underground chamber. Determined to blast inside, the Koopa King walks away away before Luigi makes a confused appearance. Now playing as Bowser, I cross an underground structure and have to make sure not to fall into the lava underneath or touch the fire bars, but luckily I could just burn them off with my own fire breath. After defeating the Xnauts, I find a spring reaching the end of the level, leading to a mysterious chamber, some kind of training room where indeed a crystal star is. Then suddenly, Rockhawk barges in, ready to defend his champion's belt before drop-kicking Cammy and getting flattened by Bowser with his thickness. With Cammy crashed against the wall, the fake crystal star breaks, leaving Bowser furious. Meanwhile, I return by train back to Rogueport and receive Peach's message about her secret location on the moon. So I head back to the town square, but first use my new jump to smack a large treasure chest from near the end, then open it to find the Ultra Hammer, now allowing me to break the gray blocks with its superior power. But realizing that this is the last upgrade and thus the last time I'll see her, Toadette runs away looking really sad. Next, I take a quick detour to Creepy Steeple, but once again, the boos try to swarm me and kick me out. Though this time I use my hammer's spin smash to ward them off, making them assemble into an atomic boo that attacks me. After guarding Atomic Boo's assault, first Garo, then I jump on him, dealing massive damage for the victory. Now that the naughty boos have learned their lesson, I earn the Lucky Start badge and can finally walk around the steeple without them harassing me. But for now, I return to the 1,000-year door and deliver the orange star, which enables my map to show the final star location, the moon. The professor confirms this surprising clue, but has to do some research first to figure out how to get up there, so I leave him to his studies. At the fast travel hub, the 6th pipe leading to Poshley Heights is now unlocked, which comes in handy as I head there to check out the rest of the town and also finish exploring Poshley's sanctum. Surprisingly, I find a badge here that allows me to wear Luigi's clothes, which combined with Wario's clothes badge turns into Waluigi's clothes. Wearing my new purple outfit, I take on Toodle's trouble and return to Poshley Heights again to hear out her request, asking me to get her a magazine from Jolene. So I quickly travel to Glitzville, enter the Glitz Pit, and talk to Jolene to receive the wrestling magazine from her. As a reward, Toodles hands me a platinum card, which I take to the Pianta Parlor, unlocking a new game for me, the boat game. In this game mode, I have to race by setting sail and avoid the obstacles, which upon winning earns me a decent amount of Pianta tokens. In the meantime, the professor has finished his studies and explains that I have to go to Far Outpost and use a cannon there to blast me up. He mentions there should be a pipe to Far Outpost somewhere under Rogueport, so I head underground where I find a blue pipe that I jump into. Suddenly, I land in a snowy area and make my way to the right through a frozen forest where I have to defend myself against ice puffs and frost piranhas. Eventually, I reach a path that leads me to Far Outpost. With no cannon in sight, I start asking around to hear what the local bob-ombs have to say. Although their doubly kablemi speech pattern is quite unusual to me, they don't tell me anything about any cannon. A green bob-omb with a beard in the town center even straight up denies such a thing existing here despite the cannon statue behind him. So I talk to him again with Bobbery, who identifies him as mayor and calls out his blatant lie. After the mayor gives them a piece of his mind, the mayor admits that he protects the cannon from being used for evil. Once Bobbery explains what's at stake, we finally get the mayor to tell us more, but learn that permission from Gold Bob is required to fire the cannon, but since he got rich, he stopped using it. On top of that, General White, the operator of the cannon, was so upset over this that he ran off with the key. Realizing there are 2 people to find in order to use the cannon, I immediately head out to start searching. Since I remember a gold-colored bob-omb as part of the bob-omb family, I first fast travel to Poshley Heights and find them all in front of their house. Gold Bob explains that he only stopped the cannon business because his wife didn't like the noise and agrees to start it again if I pay him enough. Unfortunately, he won't accept my offers of nothing, 1, or 64 coins, so all I can do is offer all the coins I have. He questions again and again if I really want to give him every coin I have to fire the cannon, then actually makes me hand it all over. In exchange, I receive Gold Bob's pass, only then he admits that he wasn't serious about taking my money and luckily returns it back to me. Next, I leave to look for General White and remember seeing a white bob-omb in Petalburg, but when I arrive, a local tells me that he left and thinks he said something about a deserted isle to the south. So I travel to Keelhaw and ask Patch, who confirms that General White was here but left only moments ago to a city floating in the sky. Because of this, I travel to Glitzville next and enter the juice bar where Podler said he heard that General White went to a big tree. So I pay the Poonies a visit to get the next hint, which is somewhere dark. After traveling to Twilight Town next, I ask Mayor Dower, who saw the General too, but only remembers him mumbling about some cannon. Following this lead, I return to Far Outpost, but don't seem to find General White there. I hand Gold Bob's permission over to the mayor anyway, when suddenly the General appears right behind us as the mayor keeps rambling. Luckily, I find him napping in one of the houses and do my best to wake him up by jumping on him. Unfortunately, I have to do this over and over over as the general doesn't wake up, crumpling the poor Bob-omb in the process. Finally, he wakes up and says he looked everywhere for me because a fortune teller told him to look for a man with an M on his hat. Realizing I'm the one who can bring back the cannon, Big Bob, we rush to the mayor, who excitedly moves to the left half of the settlement, then tells me to stand on what turns out to be a trapdoor. After I fall into the hole, the mayor moves aside, then General White and his men unlock and enter the control room to bring the systems online, causing the shutters to open and a massive cannon to appear from its shaft. Surprised to find myself in such an oversized tool, I watch as the Bob-ombs carefully aim for the moon. On top of that, an army of Bob-ombs jump inside to arm it, then after closing the door, the mayor gives the signal to fire their load, launching me up in the air and straight for the moon. After blowing their load, the Bob-ombs rain back down, and I'm surprised to find myself in space, crashing onto the moon's surface. First, I head left, but Mooncliffs patrol the area, so I make sure to defeat them by using an earth tremor, which shakes them up and pierces their high defense. Further left, I see some kind of space city in the background and clear the Zeox, then use Bobbery's explosion to blow up a cracked moon rock, revealing a pipe. That pipe takes me to the background from where I enter that domed structure I saw before. A conveyor belt leads me inside, but I immediately alert some elite X-Nauts that stand guard at the entrance. My jump attacks quickly take care of them, but after the fight, they just run away. At least Garo now realizes that this must definitely be the place where they're hiding Peach and the Crystal Star. With more guards taken care of, I enter the next corridor that leads me into a puzzle room where the path I have to take briefly lights up. So I have to follow these tiles by memory, but a wrong step zaps my butt, making me start over. On my second try, I make it across and get a blue elevator key. I use the key to open the elevator and unlock sub-level 1 and 2, then decide to write it to sub-level 1 first. Here, I find a panel but don't know the access code to enter, so I check sub-level 2 next. After checking the first room, I find some kind of contraption and push the red button to activate it, then use it to teleport myself to a new location. But then when I exit the room, I realize that I'm under Rogueport and that this must be how the X-Nauts traveled here. But for now, I go back, and in the next room, an X-Naut throws spicy cookies at me. Luckily, I managed to win the battle against him, then use my jump ability to make it through a hole in the ceiling. I grab a pipe, then walk left through the ceiling space where I flip myself to fit through the vent. Back in the teleporter room, I flutter jump across the cabinets to grab a red cog. Now I return to the ceiling space, but this time take the vent to the right, which leads me to the guard's dressing room. Surprisingly, once the curtain slides to the side, I'm changed to an 8-bit version of myself and hear classic Mario music playing. Luckily, I find a note near the lockers that explains how to turn on the power and another one showing today's code, so I leave the room with this new information and get changed back to my paper self. Heading further right, I find Grotus's throne and personal room, and from his desk, I take the hard key card. With that, I return to sub-level 1 and head all the way left where I find a machine that's missing the red cogwheel, and after replacing it, push the button according to the note's instructions, left, right, and middle. Suddenly, a console pops up that lets me move the crane, which allows me to grab the various items from the platform, a star piece, Feeling Fine, and Feeling Fine P badges, which make us immune to status effects. Next, I head right, then enter the access code, and now can enter the room behind. To my surprise, I find a metal thwomp there that suddenly springs to life as I approach and asks me to beat him if I want to access the computer room. I accept, then suddenly the thwomp spins, and I somehow find myself in another trivia room where I'm only allowed to get 3 questions wrong or else I lose. After answering several questions right, I decide to troll the thwomp by answering to what was the name of the first Glitzpit champion with Prince Macho. Amused over my wrong answer, he moves to his last question, asking what number question this is, so I answer question 7, which after a tense moment turns out to be correct, enraging the thwomp as he admits my victory. After returning us to the original room, he shakes down a chest containing the red elevator key. Next, I ride back down to sub-level 2 and check the left room where the floor panels electrocute my butt again, but a sneaky panel on the wall shows the correct path, which lets me get across and open a chest containing the red security key. Then I take the red elevator to now access sub-level 3 and 4. I go to 3 first and explore the left side where I find more spicy floor panels to walk across, this time following the moving path to get the yellow security card. At the right end of this corridor, I find consoles that match the security cards, but I'm still missing the blue one. So for now, I ride to sub-level 4 and walk left to find Peach's room, and to my surprise, someone is waiting in the shower for me. Excited to find Peach in the shower, I'm shocked that it turns out to be an X-Naut who, once defeated, drops the blue security card. With all cards in my possession, I go back to the consoles and enter the diamond, spade, heart, and club cards, unlocking the door. Behind, I find some kind of machine room, and as a first order of business, I use Bobbery to activate an inaccessible blue switch, which powers up a conveyor belt that I can reach by flipping 90 degrees, then shadow hide with Vivian to slide under a security gate. A moving platform lets me reach high up and across, leading to a pipe that takes me to the scene's background where I have to carefully jump over several moving platforms and rotating cogwheels to reach the far end of the room, then use that pipe to return to the foreground. Here I find a plane platform, so I fold into paper plane mode and fly across, landing near the purple star keycard that I collect. Next, I return to the background, but this time take the middle pipe, which leads me to a blue switch. Smashing it unfolds some stairs leading up. Taking those stairs allows me to reach a purple console that I activate using the star keycard before moving to the next room. Suddenly, I find myself in a large room and hear a familiar buh-buh-buh-huh-huh, then realize Lord Crump is waiting for me here. He explains that he used the crystal star to lure us here and now plans to take our own stars. Next, he reveals that Peach isn't even here anymore, then activates the Magnus von Grapple 2.0, a new robot that he climbs inside to attack. Turning himself into a drill, he launches himself at me, but luckily I managed to super guard, avoiding getting hurt before spring jumping and Yoshi ground pounding for good damage. But then he launches his drill arms like rockets, so I have to destroy them first by jumping onto them, but unfortunately he has another trick up his sleeve. By releasing his butt tube, he sucks the audience inside, then opens his chest to fire them at me, but doesn't manage to penetrate my defense. He still sucks more, so I use another spring jump to finish him off, causing his robot to blow up in a big explosion and launching him far out into space. To my surprise, he leaves the crystal star behind, earning me the 7th and final one, leaving only Peach and Grotus to find. Meanwhile, Bowser made it all the way to Poshly Sanctum, following the hints about the star's old locations. Happy that finally something worked out for him, I take over as Bowser and get so annoyed about the lock at the Sanctum's door that my mighty foot taps break it open, allowing me to enter. I happily take the orange fake star from the pedestal, then Pennington comes inside accusing me of thievery. I immediately correct him, saying I'm the remorseless king of evil, but Pennington is not impressed and explains that this star is merely a decoy, which is clear once it breaks after I drop it. Still not knowing Mario's real name, Pennington explains that he gave the star to Luigi, so I angrily tap my foot until suddenly a Paraguma lands with a report for me. He reveals that Mario collected all 7 crystal stars and is taking them to the 1,000-year door, so I decide to rush there immediately to make the treasure and Peach mine. Back on the moon as Mario, Garo wonders where Peach might actually be, but for now we decide to return to Rogueport. However, I realize the doors are locked, leaving me only one door at the lowest level, and as I enter, I'm surprised to find some kind of computer there that recognizes me and introduces himself as Tech. He apologizes as his data got deleted and he's only running on backup power and cached memory, then begs me to save Peach. To my surprise, he can tell me that Peach is with Grotus heading to the Palace of Shadow, then as his backup power runs out, adds that he's using the last bit of energy to activate a teleporter back to Rogueport for me, not minding his sacrifice if it means rescuing Peach. With only emergency lights in the facility, I rush to the teleporter room and use it when suddenly Tech says goodbye and another boom is visible on the moon's surface. As I leave the room, the Goomba professor calls me over, so I explain to him what happened on the moon. In return, the professor reveals that he saw some shady person go through the 1,000-year door with Peach. Expecting something bad to happen, he immediately rushes to the door. I make sure to follow him right away, but nobody else is there, so I deliver the final star, completing the circle on the floor and combining the star's power to unlock the door's seal. Slowly, the door opens, revealing a swirly dark aura behind, leading to the Palace of Shadow. The professor tells me to go rescue Peach now, but unfortunately, the princess has to wait a bit longer while I take care of unfinished business. First, I enter the fast travel hub to activate the final pipe and shortcut leading to Far Outpost. Next, I take on remaining troubles in the Trouble Center, then use the airplane mode near the 1,000-year door to return to the Pit of 100 Trials. This time, I'm strong enough to absolutely destroy the enemies on the starter levels and keep fighting and fighting until I finally reach the lower levels. Soon, I'm facing unique enemies that I haven't encountered anywhere else, like the Elite Wizards, Poison Puffs, Bobolks, Swampires, and Amazy Daisies. After overcoming all these challenges, I finally make it to the bottom of the pit and hear a terrifying Garoo as a big and bony dragon approaches me. Bonetail, the powerful sister of Hooktail, attacks with an icy breath, so I retaliate with Yoshi's freshly laid eggs for decent damage, then punish her with a mighty spin jump. Unlike her sister, she heals herself without having to numb the audience, but thanks to Gumbella's Rally Wink, I empower myself with Power Lift, then Power Bounce in the same turn. After a few more turns, one last spring jump finishes the super boss, earning me a massive 999 coins along with the chest that the dragon spews from her bony throat containing a return postage badge. After returning to the 1,000-year door, I now enter inside, then the door closes behind me and suddenly I find myself in the Palace of Shadow. I make my way through an elegant looking corridor from where I reach a dark outside area with the staircase leading down. I follow those stairs, but it's swarmed by swoopulas that are no match for my powerful jumps, so I managed to reach the next building without issues. Now in sublevel 1, more stairs lead me even further into the depths when suddenly a bombshell bill is being launched at me and hits me, so I have to fight before I'm able to take out the bombshell bill blasters ahead. Just ahead, I enter a door leading to another corridor which seems normal at first, but suddenly spikes appear and barely miss me, so I have to find a way to avoid getting impaled. Once I make it across, I reach a narrow path with spinning fire bars, then more fire bars that move towards me. Next is another empty looking room, but at its end I discover a dark bones in front of a padlocked door. After saying he won't let anyone disturb her sleep, he summons an army of dry bones to hide himself with the key, but I remember how to deal with this trick from Hooktail Castle and catch him with my hammer. Once I'm in battle, the naughty bones are quickly taken care of and the palace key is mine. After opening the padlocked door, I deal with another bombshell bill blaster, then keep walking down and down, then back inside until I reach another room with stairs. I check out the left side first, but it ends nowhere and I just fall back down to the previous room. So I check the top right side, but once again drops me back to the first room. Only after some trial and error, I realize that the torches light the correct path through the maze, and after following the flames from room to room, I reach some kind of courtyard. Here I notice that the chain chomp statue is cracked, so I blow it up using bobbery and discover a pipe underneath. Taking that leads me to the background where I activate a blue switch which replaces the star fountain nearby with a boat platform. After defeating some real chain chomps, I repeat the same process on the right side, revealing another boat platform near the central tower. But first, I head right, following corridor after corridor until I end up in a dark room where suddenly another dragon appears. Although Garo mistakes him for Hooktail, he makes it clear that he's Gloomtail, her brother, and promises to avenge his sister. He attacks with stinky poison breath, but I retaliate with Garo's egg attack and powerful butt attacks. Luckily, the poison doesn't matter as a spring jump completely destroys him, ending the fight in an early victory. Now that the stinky dragon is on his back, he spits out a treasure chest containing a strange star-shaped stone. With that stone, I return to the courtyard and fold into boat mode to make it across to the central tower, then open the door to enter inside. After checking the doors that seem to lead nowhere, I take the central staircase to reach the top and find some kind of pedestal with a hole that fits the star stone, so I slide it inside. This activates a mechanism to make 8 pedestals with keyholes appear, and now the doors activate too, so I can go inside. Behind those doors, I find a series of puzzles that I need to solve, each rewarding me with a tower key. After solving them all, I can collect the final key and activate the 8 pedestals, causing some of the puzzle text lines to combine and form some kind of prophecy along with the star system in front of me to start moving. This triggers the ground to shake, and in the corridors to the right of the tower, some stairs leading down unfold. So I leave the tower, but to my surprise, Professor Frankly stops me on my way, accompanied by the Shadow Sisters. Now I realize that the fake professor tricked me to open the door before revealing his true identity as Dupless. Together they fight me, but I just one-shot Dupless with a single attack before he can change his form again. Marilyn and Beldam go down just as easily, leaving them unconscious on the floor so I can proceed. Now I can take the stairs down, then blow away some loose paper to reveal a hidden path leading up and flutter jump to a door that leads me to the next room. Here, a red switch makes a platform appear to make it across, but it's timed, so I use bobbery to activate it with a delayed explosion and jump across. The stairs lead me even further down, and by activating only the yellow but not the green block, I can make a path to get across. But here I reach another gap, and at its bottom I activate and ride the purple block to reach an otherwise inaccessible corridor. Next, I jump high to reach the pipes and make it across the spikes, leading me to a room with another red switch that I activate with bobbery to make it over the gap. I also notice some kind of star pattern, but for now I just take the stairs up where my path is blocked by a padlocked door. So instead, I go right and jump over some platforms where I can use coops to grab a key and get through the locked door. In the gear room, I find a series of stars and switches and activate them in the same sequence that was shown before to start the gears and rotate the platforms in the previous rooms. Now that they're spinning, I can make it to the higher platform and reach the exit on the right side of the room. After revealing a block with Flurry's blowing skills, I smash it with my hammer, then ground pound the boards underneath to reach the area below. Outside, I have to make my way over a narrow path or risk falling down, then paper plane fly to land on a platform that takes me back to a gear room. Using a red switch and Garo's flutter jump, I'm able to reach a chest containing a palace key. By flying all the way across in the previous room, I can use that key to open a door and make it to the palace's anteroom. Here, I can grab a bunch of items, then ready myself as I head inside the adjacent room, meeting none other than Grotus, already waiting for me to thank me for gathering the crystal stars before trying to take them from me with a fight. He swings his staff to summon 4 gears that produce some kind of shield around him, then attacks me with lightning as the gears surround him. Using a multi-bounce, I can take out the Grotus X's in one turn, but then he uses a power on himself to deflect all direct attacks. Luckily, Luckily, Yoshi's Stampede attacks indirectly, so I can easily take out his gears and damage him too. I repeat this strategy until he says I pushed him far enough to use some kind of energy blast, but after another multi-jump, I managed to defeat him. However, he announces that he foresaw the possibility of this outcome and has another trick up his sleeve, revealing Peach surrounded by one of his force fields. By holding her hostage, he zaps me twice with lightning strikes, and just when I have to make the decision of attacking or not, the whole room shakes and suddenly Bowser falls through the ceiling, flattening Grodus. Excited to see me tired from the previous battle, he too attacks together with Cammy and immediately blasts me with fire. The old hag is quickly taken care of with Mario's thick butt, leaving only the Koopa King who gets a taste of Garo's freshly laid eggs used to bombard him and make him tiny. In this state, Bowser is helplessly weak, and after some attacks, along with a finishing spring jump, I win this battle too. In that moment, I realize that Peach gets abducted into one of the back rooms, so I leave the dizzy Bowser and Cammy behind and waste no more time to chase after her. The secret door leads me to the palace's depths, where I follow the stairs down and reach an ominous room lit by many candles, then see Peach cowering behind Grodus. He says that the legendary treasure sleeps in this coffin, which is actually the demon who will possess Peach's body, bringing life to a powerful witch. As Grodus starts to revive the Shadow Queen, the candles all turn black and the coffin opens, releasing a scary crowned figure. As Rogueport turns to darkness by the evil power of her shadow hands, and the same happens in Petalburg to the Poonies and to Glitzville, Grodus welcomes the Shadow Queen and offers up Peach as her vessel. As the Queen embraces Peach, Twilight Town starts shaking, and so does Keelhaw Key, Poshley Heights, and the Far Outpost, all while the real professor can be seen hurrying through the Shadow Palace. As Peach is being possessed, a dark version of her is now in front of me, but says she's not fully in control of the body yet. Now Grodus tries to command the Queen, but she defies and zaps him before blasting him away. Suddenly, the Shadow Sisters and Dupless appear, realizing that their queen has returned, and now it's revealed that Beldam was the one who spread the rumors of a legendary treasure to begin with, baiting Grodus and me into doing the dirty work to collect the crystal stars. As the Shadow Queen recognizes my strength, she asks me to become her servant, but I refuse, angering the Queen and initiating a fight. After Garo reminds me that this is not Peach, I use his eggs to shrink her, then buff myself with Power Lift. She zaps Garo with lightning, but in my buffed state, I could deal a lot of damage to her, so she rethinks her strategy and assumes her real form. Now that she's showing her true face, I have to deal with her hands as well as her body, so I summon a Yoshi Stampede, which unfortunately does absolutely nothing to her. Not even my jumps can leave a scratch, while her attacks just melt Garo's HP. Unfortunately, some kind of laser eye attack is enough to reduce my HP to 0, costing me a life shroom, then another one as she launches a series of attacks on Garo. On top of that, she simply summons an army of evil hands to kidnap the audience and absorbs them to heal to full HP, showing me just how powerless I am. At this point, I'm completely out of ideas, so she asks me again if I'm willing to serve her, but since I'll never accept, she quickly decides to punish me when suddenly a light appears and the crystal stars surround me, filling the room with their glow. The seal now appears in Rogueport, and so do the crystal stars, then suddenly they spread out all over the world. In Petalburg, the mayor and the rest of the citizens figure that this must be connected to the darkened sky and wish for Koops and me to come home safely. The Poonies are wondering about the star too, but Petunia and Punio quickly realize that I'm in trouble and answer the star's plea to lend me their power. The combatants and staff of Glitzville also learned about my brave stand thanks to their star, and although there's not much they can do, Jolene and even Rock Hawk and all the others send me their power and wishes. Even in Twilight Town, they send me encouragement and remember Vivian wishing for us to be okay. The crew in Keelhaw cheer for me and Bobbery, all of them together asking us to keep fighting, and so do the people from Poshley Heights who cheer with all their might. Then lastly, even the Bob-Ombs at Far Outpost to assemble with lots of hopeful Shabulbis, letting me know that they're all believing in me. And although I'm deep in the darkness of the Shadow Palace, I'm able to hear their voices thanks to the crystal stars, then we quickly realize that they're sending their wishes and positive energy. This terrifies the Queen, and suddenly a light appears, then for a moment, the real Peach manages to break free. The Shadow Queen is enraged over her disobedience, but Peach bravely offers me her last bit of power, sending me her light to fully restore me. With that, the Shadow Queen gets back to her battle stance, and once again, we fight. Luckily, thanks to all this encouragement, I'm now able to damage the Queen and quickly destroy her hands with a multi-bounce. The Queen comes to the shocking realization that I can harm her now before summoning her arms again to attack several times. So next, I egg the Shadow Queen and buff again with Power Lift, but the Shadow Queen powers up too. After breaking her hands again with a multi-bounce, I fear a strong attack back in her powered up state, so I use Vivian's veil to hide and avoid the catastrophe. So the Shadow Queen's dark explosion completely misses me and I only have to deal with normal attacks. This costs me my last life shroom and removes my buff, so now I'm hanging on to my last threads. Using Koops' shell shield, I can do a multi-bounce and return to safety, then use my spring jumps to deal massive damage and destroy the evil Shadow Queen. This leaves her in disbelief as she dissolves in a cloud of shadows, returning Peach as the normal lights are restored. I immediately check on the princess and luckily she seems to be okay. Now the real professor arrives with some kind of chest, explaining that the rumors about a treasure were true after all. With Rogueport now being safe again, it's time to say my goodbyes to my companions. Although they all say their heartfelt wishes, I'll definitely miss Yoshi the most, who even cries at seeing me go. Suddenly I hear my name being called and the Poonies arrive with some refreshing mushrooms. Soon the boat arrives and it's time to get on board and leave Rogueport. During our journey, Peach reflects on our time in Rogueport, and suddenly as the sun rises we can watch the city in its full beauty. Afterwards, I find myself back in my house with Luigi, who wonders how my companions are. Just then, I receive a message which turns out to be from Goombella. She explains that there are still some secrets left in Rogueport that she's researching with the professor. She teases me with the treasure chest that the professor found and won't tell me what they found inside. She explains that Koops lives peacefully in Petalburg now and wants to become the next mayor. Flurry returned to the stage as an actress and Garo became a full-fledged fighter in the Glitz Pit, now calling him the Great Gonzalez Jr. Vivian decided to give her sisters another chance, and apparently Beldam had a change of heart after the Shadow Queen got defeated. Bobbery now goes out to sea every day on Cortez's ship, and Miss Mouse is happily running the badge shop in Rogueport. It also turns out that Lord Crump and Grotus are still alive, but apparently they're not much trouble anymore. Even Tech miraculously survived and really wants to see Peach and me again. With that, Goombella wraps up her report and asks me to say hi to Peach from her. Suddenly, Toadsworth and Peach enter our house, telling me that while cleaning the castle, he found another treasure map, leaving me in shock as it's already time for another adventure. But my journey to 100% is not complete, so I return to Rogueport with everyone already waiting for me. After reuniting with my companions and immediately jumping back on Garo for a ride, I receive a message about a fabled creature spotted deep within the pit of 100 trials. But first, I buy some of the badges I'm still missing, then check the professor's trash bin for some tattle logs I missed, bringing my tattle log to near completion. Finally, I also learned that the mysterious treasure chest only contained a dried mushroom, which I'm much less excited about than the professor. Next, I return to the pit of 100 trials to check out the rumors about the fabled creature. So I fight my way back down to the 100th floor, realizing that Bonetail is gone, and for some reason, Wacka moved in. So I smack his head for a bomb, which Wacka takes for an invitation to play. Suddenly, a battle begins, so I power lift and appeal, then superguard the Wacka bump he launches at me. Jumping on him causes another bump to fall, which he uses to heal up. Next, I use Garo's freshly laid eggs to hit Wacka multiple times, causing many bumps and even a scary red one to appear. In order to avoid multi-hits and more bumps, I smack him with my hammer instead to only add one bump. Despite the many bumps he launches at me, I manage to superguard them and next go for Yoshi's powerful ground pound before a final hammer smack to finish him off. With that, the secret boss of the pit is defeated, and after all the fun, Wacka leaves behind a gold bump. So now, I return to Hooktail Castle to collect some missing tattles. After doing that, I return to the moon and pay Tech a visit, who surprisingly regained consciousness with everything on the moon base returning to its previous state despite the detonation. He can't explain why, but says he saw a light and thought he heard Peach's voice too. After finishing the tattles on the moon, I realize my tattle log is finally complete and receive a message rewarding my tireless tattling with a tattle trophy. Next, I visit Merlively in order to find the missing shine sprites, then use them to fully upgrade my remaining companions. There are also a few more troubles to complete, so I smack some piranha plants for Doty, which allows him to see the great tree, help Bub in Poshley Heights to find a present for his mom, and lastly report to Swab how I already took care of his trouble while clearing the pit of 100 trials, enabling me to simply collect my reward from him. After grabbing a missing badge in Poshley Heights, I can finally finish my badge collection. The last thing on my road to 100% completion is to cook all of Zesty's dishes, so I travel all over to collect ingredients and cook dish after dish until I finally manage to complete the recipe list. To my surprise, I receive a message congratulating me for obtaining all recipes and badges, then telling me to head to Rogueport's main square for a shiny reward. Of course, I head there right away and receive a spectacular gold medal badge, which changes my appearance to shiny solid gold. With this new look, I go for a victory ride in Rogueport with my favorite companions, celebrating the 100% achievement.